That might be a bit much. I'll stay off unless I have something very insightful to say, which is unlikely.
Cool. All right, so
I've never
this
stopped
is
before.
League H. FrYoungtrad versus CrystalMath123. And let's get into the first game. I'm joined here on commentary by Something Smart and J Nails.
So, what was that?
I must say, I'm already liking FrYoungtrad's opening strategy better of showing up on time.
Yep. At least it wasn't too long. I've waited like 30 minutes for a match, and then you end up like really peeved because your opponent's like,
Yeah.
it just tilts you.
I played a match with E Honda not too long ago where he like fell asleep. Things happen. All right, what do we got going on here? Looks very money-ish.
Yep. I see Spices. I see Horde. I see Sooth.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think you play with Fool's Gold here.
Seems hard to get a bunch of. Spices seem an easier thing to just sort of flood your deck with if you want money.
Yeah, I think I would consider getting a Horde if the shuffles suggest it.
Horde is probably pretty nice with the castles too.
Hmm.
We're gonna be playing with them.
Yeah, that's a valid consideration.
What do we think of Jester here?
I feel like no, but I'm not sure.
Okay, so let's talk about this Night Watchman open.
Okay, turn one Night Watchman is not a thing. That's
Yeah.
never a thing. Night
It
Watchman
just
I think
worked,
is a
though.
long consideration turn two.
Well, it happened to work. What are the odds that it actually gets you
5.
to 5? Like, it's like 50-50, right?
It's really bad nonetheless, because if it gets you to 5, it gets you a really bad hand and you're following.
Yeah, that's true.
They've guaranteed all their estates are top deck. It's just, that's not a thing you do. Now here is a thing that I think is, in fact, probably the main use of Night Watchman, is you buy it turn 2 to guarantee that you hit 5 turn 3 with a short shuffle. And the way that works is you buy like silver or some silver equivalent on turn 1. So let's say you bought silver. Then you buy Night Watchman turn 2, and then you discard 1 card, presumably a state, but it could be a single copper as well. Then your turn 3 hand is silver, 3 coppers in an estate, or silver, 4 coppers. Then you buy the 5 cost card, and the key thing here is you haven't triggered a shuffle yet. So that 5 cost card goes straight back into your shuffle for turn 4 instead of having to wait till like mid of turn 5 to reshuffle your deck. And so that's the best use of Night Watchman. Is if there's a key 5 here like Trading Post, I think something like Silver Night Watchman and Trading Post turn 3 is probably the best opening.
Yeah, so that's what FrYoungtrad went for. And it seems this is a weird hand that they just drew.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
CrystalMath.
Going for,
well,
Yeah, they took a Fool's Gold.
yeah, well, Soothsayer and Fool's Gold feels like a weird combo because,
yeah.
like, Soothsayer's adding more stuff to your deck, making it less likely for Fool's Golds to collide.
Yeah, I'm not really following the logic of CrystalMath's buys here at all. All 3 of the turn 1 through 3 buys seem pretty questionable to me.
I mean, I assume the Fool's Gold was just because the alternative was nothing, and they figured that might as well get something, which isn't always true. Probably not true in the case of Fool's Gold here.
Yeah. I'm with Johnson. Nothing being better than Fool's Gold here.
Sometimes you got to be willing to take nothing. Like Fool's Gold is going to be a copper very often in this game with the minimal trashing and no draw.
Like if you're trying to play for Fool's Gold, which I don't think you should, you'd want to like fully commit to getting as many as you can in your deck. And Soothsayer is not.
If you really wanted to draw, you can get a bunch of troops and squirrels, like things to squirrel. I don't know if that's good or.
Yeah, I think the money stuff is good enough, but I wouldn't try to bother with that. It seems.
Yeah, probably not. Yeah, there's like a lot of good money here.
Seems like its biggest use. Citadel is kind of weird.
Yeah,
actually, Citadel does kind of push for the if you're trying engineering things because Citadel acting troop, like you can get a lot of villagers that way.
I mean, Citadel is really good. It's just all the actions here are so bad.
Yeah, I'm not sure I really want to be doubling my actions. I mean, it's nice if you hit Sooth, but you just draw your opponent 2 cards, like.
Yeah,
and here.
Citadel is almost always something you buy the first time you hit 8. And this is a rare kingdom where I would strongly consider skipping it.
Yeah, same.
Now, one thing I wanted to go back to for a second is, where was that Horde by? That was turn 4 for FrYoungtrad. I don't dislike Horde. I think I would have strongly considered Spices, though, there. They're at the top of the shuffle. And I think a very good time to buy Spices is when you are not going to shuffle your deck next turn. So, like, if you hit 6 there, you know you've got a bunch of estates and a Night Watchman coming up, and you're likely to have a bad hand the next turn. You buy Spices, and you can sort of resolve that by using the coffers immediately. So you could have gotten, like, Spices that turn and Horde the next turn. That's going to be that effect. Something to consider.
Yep. So we're seeing them dip into the castles. Of note is when you take like the 2 castles like Youngtrad just did, it leaves you open to a haunted castle attack, which is what's happening.
Yeah, now the attack's not the biggest thing in the world, but I probably wouldn't have left haunted castle on top.
Yeah, if I'm...
The attack's probably not that bad here, I don't think.
So here you can get a lot of villagers.
Now, why did they top deck what they did? I don't understand that choice. Like, I think a valid consideration would be... Okay, what are we doing now? I think a valid consideration would be top deck both silvers and then just double play acting troop and then single play trading post as squirrel. You could also top deck trading posts like Johnson's suggesting.
Yeah, trading post and crumbling castle. I was thinking. Well, I mean, I assume they would be squirreling trading posts too. This seems not terrible.
I don't think I like the Night Watchman at this point.
Yeah, the awkward thing is, you either... Why are they keeping crumbling? I guess they want to trash it?
With what?
Like, what are they going to trash?
Yeah, exactly.
I would understand if it was one of the nicer looking castles, like Opulent Castle, and then you want to see it more. But Crumbling Castles, I think, arguably the ugliest of the castles.
The fact that it's the 4 castle means that a lot of the time it can be very hard to get into the castle pile because you end up taking 3 and 4, and the 4 castle can actively harm your deck.
I mean, it doesn't here, I don't think.
Yeah, here I think it is a fine card to buy. Your deck's never going to be like super strong or anything. Now that being said, I do see... Oh, go ahead.
I was saying, are they going to do opulent spices other than Jester?
Yeah, I think I agree with what John said earlier, which is the problem with Jester is that it's not spices.
Yeah.
I mean, Jester looks nicer from the perspective of someone who has Citadel and has like 1 action card in their deck.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the best argument for Jester is Citadel exists. Which
And they already have it, so like you want to actually play actions on like some of your turns.
Now going back to something a second ago, like while this is a good kingdom, I think for considering taking Humble Castle or Crumbling Castle relatively early, I think I see a lot of players assume those cards are just like much more important than they are in general, and try to like snap them up real early in kingdoms where they really shouldn't. And like neither of those cards are the card you really want in your deck in the short term. And so in a kingdom where there's any like marginal potential of building, they're like, I need to get Humble Castle the first time I hit 3 on turn 1 is I think usually a misstep that I see pretty frequently.
Although in this case they were all buys with Horde in play, so that makes them look a lot nicer at least.
Yeah, I don't think it was a mistake in this game.
Yeah, this is
So
just,
will
like,
they pop small here?
Pretty yellow board.
They can afford to buy the castle without popping.
I think I would pop it. Oh, never mind. The squirrel's better. I forgot squirrel exists, but I think double squirrel is probably better.
That's a nice one.
Looking pretty good for Youngtrad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like 3 turns in, the game already looked decisively winning for Youngtrad, based on their turn 1 through 3 buys compared to CrystalMath. I think now we're just playing it out.
Yeah, these fool's golds are not working for CrystalMath.
Who could have thought?
And Opulent's kind of funny with Citadel. Doesn't really do anything the second time, but you can squirrel it, so...
I would definitely play the Jester twice. And then play Opulent once.
Yeah.
And then you're buying both of those castles. How much will they have?
So Jester gives
Are they
4.
1?
Yeah, they're $1 short of 2
The
castles.
mostly Jester spices. Oh, thing. That
Yeah,
would have been cute.
I'm just gonna assume John's counted it out right. I looked at it and I'm like, that's a lot of money. They can probably do it without actually verifying.
I'm counting they have 16 money. That might be wrong. Hold on. 5, 9.
Wait, no, it looks right to me. What's the problem? Oh, never mind. 18 money is not enough to buy both of them. That's why. Yeah. What do you buy here?
I would imagine you do take Grand.
I would strongly consider taking Grand. Although, what else are you getting with it? 7 feels like a kind of awkward number. 2 more
Spices.
acting troops is fine.
I don't
I like
understand the
these
troop. You do not need more villagers.
Well, you're mostly playing it as Squirrel, I think.
Sure.
Like it's draw. And then you pop it for villagers whenever you need it. Should be.
So now do we just dig into provinces?
Probably.
I would think so. Not much point in building here.
Yeah. Is there a better thing to do?
I guess they've already done plenty of building with the
Yeah,
castle.
I mean, they're just full of money.
Huh.
Yeah, I mean, the spice is like, seems wrong, but not like crazy.
I really hope that, I think this will not happen, but I would love it if one of them requested the spectator chat, so they just get to walk John talking to himself.
Crazy man yells at the sky.
Yes.
I mean, the recording's gonna have the spectator chat in context, so like,
Yeah.
Yeah, but with the context, it's not that much interesting.
It's a very insightful chat. Real chorus of ideas here.
You just province it?
I'm
feel like
surprised he didn't province last turn.
I don't understand that acting troop by there.
Well, that feels wrong.
I think province or spices are the two things worth considering there. Spices mostly for the coppers.
Honestly, if not province, I probably would have just taken duchy because of horde.
Yeah, that's also.
I just want to interact and not just like hit provinces.
Yeah. I mean, it is still hard to say exactly like what the right and wrong moves are here because I think the answer
Citadel feels like a wrong move, though.
Citadel feels late. If you want to get Citadel, you want to get it earlier. They should have done that the first time they hit 8 if they wanted it. Also, their deck is a little low on actions for it at this point.
Yeah, they've been really adding money. They've got Horde and Sooth. Their deck has a lot of money in it. I don't see Citadel hitting enough.
Spin the coffer for province troop, I think. I wouldn't hate double spices, but please don't buy fool's gold.
Hey, finally got rid of that fool's gold.
I think province nothing is fine. I would have bought the acting troop, but that is a perfectly defensible play.
Yes, you don't want to play this Night Watchman here because if you do, all this good treasure is going to miss the shuffle.
They're gonna play it. They're absolutely gonna play it. I'm calling it now. Please prove me wrong. Nah, they did it.
I don't think it was that bad.
I mean, I've seen much worse shuffle triggers.
Yeah, there's also some not as good things that are missing the shuffle. Like they just have a lot of good treasure in their decks in general. So like, yeah, I mean, you're right that it's something you want to think about. You want to think about what am I triggering this shuffle, like is this a good shuffle to be triggering what cards are missed in the shuffle as a result of me doing this, rather than just auto? Like, it was probably just an automatic thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the lesson there is...
The shuffle is better than the average set of cards in their deck. It seems pretty clear to me. So is Crystal Math. Seems pretty clear you just squirrel both of those and buy province.
Yep. Okay, I don't think you want to save the villager there. You really want to draw.
Yeah, like, you're not going to have, like, 3 more terminal collisions before this game is over. There's only 3 provinces left.
Yep.
You can definitely get in that habit of, like, I have limited villagers. I just never spend them for anything.
Again.
This is not a case where you would want to do that.
That was an unnecessary...
Yeah, that should have been double squirrel for sure. You do not need more villagers.
Both of them, I think, are a little bit too attached to villagers. There's no way you could... You couldn't even spin 7 villagers if you wanted to before this ends. Like, that does seem like a pretty clear mistake.
Double dodging.
Yeah, double dodging seems right to me. Could be province estate or province silver or province troop or something, but
I mean, I guess, but also FrYoungtrad has a massive hand, so they're not really gonna dud.
Actually, Johns, the client does let you. You can spend your villagers anytime you have the little bubble open by clicking on the villagers.
Yeah, that is a good point. You could technically just waste all your villagers at any point.
Well, only if the client... Only if the client doesn't automatically move to your buy phase. Though,
yep.
You have to have action cards in hand for that to work.
This notably comes up with possession and almost nothing else.
People who don't have possession banned.
Well, I mean,
their ban look like
anyway? It came up in the possession tournament.
Anyway, FrYoungtrad takes game 1 pretty solidly. I think, like you were saying, J-Nails, from the first couple turns, they had just a lot better build order, and then it kind of spiraled from there as they just added more money into their deck. Citadel still strikes me as not really that necessary. Maybe you get it there. I mean, all those double squirreling stuff was pretty good. But
one card worth talking about here that I think gets overrated a lot, and this game is clear proof of that, is Soothsayer. Like, this is an okay kingdom for Soothsayer, but I wouldn't have even taken it as the first 5. Look at FrYoungtrad's deck. They've got 3 curses in a deck full of a bunch of treasures. It didn't attack them all that much. Soothsayer's a lot weaker than cards like Witch, just because the tempo is so much different. You're drawing them a card rather than drawing yourself 2 cards, and you're adding a jump card to your deck as well, the gold. And so, whereas Witch accelerates your deck while slowing them down, Soothsayer kind of has the opposite effect. And the main effect of curses is not the points, it's the like early game impact on your deck of adding more jump cards. Soothsayer is just a lot less good at doing that damage.
Yep, I mean, that's what Ruins sort of demonstrate is you don't actually even need the -1 VP, or you can have them do some stuff, and it's still the active junk cards.
Yeah, I mean, and Ambassador.
Alright, what do we got going on here?
Alright, well, you suggested we can look at the bands for a second. So we have Scrying Pool banned. That makes me sad because I love Scrying Pool. Smugglers, Knights, Brigand, and Possession. Okay.
Banning Scrying Pool would make a lot more sense if this were an in-person game, because Scrying Pool takes a lot of time to resolve.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it still does. It still takes a while to resolve in the client, like if you're playing a bunch of... I understand it.
So we have Rebuild set to dislike, which I see a lot of players around this level ban or dislike Rebuild.
Yeah, it is strong when you're still getting good at the game.
Yeah.
And only at like a very high level of play does Rebuild start to taper off in this game. Black Market, though, oh my goodness. Whoever has Black Market on their dislike list, you're on my dislike list. How do you not love Black Market?
This is a nice 2-5, I think. Except
I would not buy Carriage. That's clearly Tormentor, right?
2-5 until that happened.
Yeah, I mean, I think Tormentor probably.
Yeah, I want Tormentor.
Get early because you get instrumented.
Tormentor seems clear to me.
You could also demand something.
Yeah, I was also thinking like demand poacher is like arguable, but I think the Tormentor cards are like.
Yeah, like when I see $5 opening and demand, my instinct is to demand something. But none of the 4 or less cards look particularly desirable to demand here, so I think it's just Tormentor.
Yeah, and it was a 2/5. Demand would be nicer in the 5/2 as well.
Mm-hmm.
Also true.
But then it turns into not a 2.
So you could theoretically build here. Like you've got Trashing with Expand, you've got actions with Carriage and Bustling Village, you got Draw with Oracle.
You have
and
mega turn
Otter.
potential with Merchant Guild. You have some payload there.
I'm not sure if it's worth it.
I don't think it
I would
is.
try.
It probably depends on what your opponent is doing. Like,
I want to
would try
get some
I would
imps,
go there.
get some expands, and play a pretty money-ish game.
I think I'm willing to build. It looks slow, but I believe.
Yeah, I guess it also depends on how quickly the bustling villages show up. Because using carriage as the only village is not going to be pleasant.
It is unpleasant for sure, but especially if I had 2/5, I'm already lowering the settlers by 1. And like your deck can eventually just like hit the opponent's deck with a bunch of tormentors once it's up and running, which seems painful.
Yeah, as Kaplan likes to say, why would you buy green cards when you could throw the entire hex pile at your opponent?
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm on team build here, in which case the goal should be like get to 7 early and then start calling carriages on expand as much as possible.
Wow, we're already hitting the bustling villages. So.
Yep, they really pile drove those settlers.
Oh, it's cut. Oh, Youngtrad has Talisman.
I think it is not unreasonable, to be honest, to get to Bustling Village early, because if you're trying to build, Settlers look better than Silver to me.
Yeah, the Talisman seems not terrible.
I don't like the Talisman. I don't think it's getting you anything particularly good, and it's basically a copper.
Well,
Like, you don't need that many Settlers. You pick them up because you like have 3 in your hand, you don't want Silver.
Yeah, I was thinking more for poachers because, poachers nice to have, but I guess it's not so nice to have once the bustling villages run out, they probably will. Yeah, I mean, the way these people are rushing them, they probably will run out.
So, like, for example, if you use Talisman once on Poacher, you've bought a Talisman just to get a Poacher when you could have just bought 2 Poachers directly instead of, like, Talisman plus Poacher. And so it's, like, 2 Poachers plus a copper. You have to at least buy like 2 different sets of poachers before it even starts to look potentially not strictly worse. And by that point, yeah, you're probably already starting like running piles and stuff like that.
You can expand it also. Yeah, I don't know, yeah, you're probably right.
I feel like Talisman
Imp using
kind of
Wave
good.
of Honor.
Oh, good.
Wait, why do you play Imp using Wave of Honor?
Style points.
Well,
Anyway, look, I'm definitely tracking my deck so well. I knew those cards are not actions.
yeah, I guess. Like,
It's definitely a huge flex.
Yeah.
Royal Carriage Imp is kind of nice. Although it's not like you're gonna have that many imps in your deck, then it's hard to get. But yeah, the ability to like play carriage off of the imp.
I assume you buy Bustling Village here, but carriage is also reasonable.
Yeah, I was thinking carriage. Who's the one who has the
CrystalMath has the expand.
has the Bustling Village. Yeah, it's.
I definitely don't want to lose out on the bustling villages if the plan here is to do bigger stuff, so I think I want to grab as many of those as I can.
Yeah. And then as far as getting draw goes, demanding Oracle seems not bad, because you can
Oracle.
use the horse as a draw card, like with Way of the Otter, until you need to like pop it.
Yeah. Oracle doesn't seem that great with Otter around. That's it.
It's just a question of like you got to put some sort of action in your deck anyway to function as the Way of the Otter draw.
Poacher's probably better, I would think.
Maybe.
Considering it can be non-terminal if you need it to be.
Oracle does have a bit of a nice sifting effect, but I could be persuaded that maybe Demand Poacher is better.
Well, settlers can pick that discarded copper right up.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Ooh, lucky for them. It asked to reconsider the way you played it, because if you called carriage and got the next hex, then you can't really undo anymore.
But why aren't they calling it though?
I'm not sure.
It's a big call.
Like I really want to expand here, and calling Royal Carriage on Tormentor would get me an expand.
Demands a flag bearer.
Oh no.
Flag there is unreasonable because it's not expand.
Also,
I mean, like as far as like choices of actions once you click demand, yeah, flag seems okay. But actually, no, I'm gonna take that back. I think it is unreasonable. My opponent has expanded. I do not. I don't want to get into the flag war.
Yep.
Because
Yeah, why?
they got their flag bearers, and I will not be able to.
Why do you want to start the? Why do you want to start the flag war, Johnson? It seems like there's not a big reason to do that.
Yeah, Crystal Math looks like they're in a much better position here.
Yeah, I guess
This
for
is a
sure.
I think so. There's room for things to go awry still.
Yeah, I guess for people who are listening and don't know what I mean by flag war, the thing with flag bearers is that you usually don't want to move first on it, because then when everybody keeps buying it back and forth till they're all gone, whoever moves second on it will get the last one. Obviously, that's a simplification. You can trash down, etc. But generally, it's not good to be the first person to gain a flag bearer, because then you have more of the junk in your deck if you want to keep reclaiming the flag from your opponent. So we'll see how that plays out here. I mean, there's ways to trash the flags. Also, you can play them as otter, so they're not nearly as bad.
I agree that expanding things into flags is awkward, but I don't think that's the relevant consideration.
Yeah, expanding flags into stuff is what I would want to do to flag fight. Like, that seems useful.
In general, I think the second mover has a big advantage in flag bearer context.
Yeah.
You need a pretty good reason to take the flag early. And like those contexts arise. It's not rare for that situation to come up, but you have to have like a good proactive reason to think that you're gonna be able to like keep the flag for a few turns, for example. To want to
and it's like even more sketchy if there is no way to trash them, because then you actually are just gonna like, if your opponent just keeps fighting you on a flag and they run out, then your opponent's gonna end with a flag with That's not the case here, but I've found that like that's an even sketchier thing to do.
Yeah, for here, I think that the bigger argument against flag bears is not as much the second mover advantage as the my opponent already has an expand advantage. Because I agree, the main reason you don't really want to get into flag wars is because flag bear is a pretty bad card in your deck. But if you can play it as a draw card here, it's less bad than normal.
Yeah, that's true. So there's the talisman finally doing something. Man, copper and silver, yeah, that's pretty bad. Probably copper and oracle.
I've got to agree with John for having a really severe misplay.
Oh, they had an estate in hand. Yeah, estate. Estate could also estate in hand.
Expanding a copper into a silver is like worse than mine, because mine turns a copper into a silver and puts it straight back into your hand.
Yep.
Expand does the same thing with your discard. And for context, mine is A, a $5 card, and B, among the worst $5 cards in the game.
Well, yeah, especially when you have the option to expand estate into a 5, and you expand copper into silver instead. Like, if there's nothing better to do than like copper into silver is maybe better than nothing. But like, when you can do estate in the bustling village instead.
Yeah, I don't think it's particularly. Those poachers are also going to get worse pretty soon. I guess not that much worse, because like the settlers and bustling villages being in your deck makes poachers discard attack hurt less than it normally would.
Oh yeah, that's true. You can set stuff up.
Also, actually, this is something I hadn't thought about. But that's another argument in favor of Oracle. Like, just assuming you just like categorically discarded 2 cards at random every time you played Oracle, you would just end up with settlers and coppers and stuff in your discard pile, and then that makes Oracle closer to a smithy.
That's true. I mean, is there? I guess. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, it probably is like likely to help you more than it hurts. Because even if you just never discarded what your opponent flipped, like, and that's not true that you would never do that. So, yeah, I mean, the oracles are like fine. I don't know. I guess I don't know if oracle is better than poacher that can also be an otter though. Is the thing like the flexibility there is pretty nice.
There's also an argument to be had
So
for just having some mix of those, like having Oracle and Poacher, because then you have more targets for your imp. Which, I mean, I guess it's less
yeah,
relevant
I
here.
mean, like, they have like 2 imps each and like a bunch of uniques. I doubt that's gonna come up.
It could come up though with Royal Carriage. I think both of them could be getting carriages more aggressively. If you're calling
carriage,
out of targets fast.
Yeah, that's true. If you're calling carriage,
I think hexes are the hardest thing to commentate because you have to remember while you're recording to keep clicking the windows closed.
Yeah. So, random thought here. We saw expand copper into silver a moment ago. That seems strictly worse to me than turning it into a oracle.
Yep.
So I'm hoping crystal. Oh no! Oh no! 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 Not that. That was not the move. I was about to say I hope they don't expand that copper to silver, which I guess they didn't, but for the wrong reason. It is not time to green yet. There are cards to be bought. There are many more cards to be bought.
So a big question is, will FrYoungtrad start dipping into green as well in response?
I sure hope not. In fact, I mean, like, that would be the window for FrYoungtrad to potentially come back in this game, because I feel like they're behind right now. And like if I'm in FrYoungtrad's position, I'm considering resigning. I feel like I'm in a much worse spot. The thing that would give me a flicker of hope is watching them prematurely by province. And be like, all right, I've got a fighting chance.
That looks like a friendly hex to me also.
Thanks.
Yeah, discarding copper and settlers.
No, not discarding copper, but just discarding settlers. But even still.
Oh, you're right. They did discard the copper. But yes.
If math has a bustle in there, then that's like.
There it is.
Yeah. So it's probably funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like seeing your opponent green often gives people this impression of like, I've got to score immediately. And I mean, occasionally that's true if piles are low and you're like worried about the 3-pile. But like in a situation like this, I think that's usually the wrong move. If your deck is not together yet, then it's just not time to green, period. And you reacting to that and hurting your own deck in response to your opponent hurting their deck is not the way to come back and win. You just outbuild them, and then like you start playing Tormentors, and their deck gets full of provinces, just gets shuts down and never hits 8 again.
CrystalMath just had a nice situation where they avoided a bad shuffle. By the way, anyone is watching for that, they had a settlers and no real reason to play it, but it would trigger a shuffle with a lot of their good cards out of it. So.
That's good. We did see that mistake made last game, although I think last game it was FrYoungtrad that made the mistake.
Yeah, I think it seems like CrystalMath is more aware of that.
Don't think you want to play as Otter there.
Yeah, drawing dead with Otter seems kind of bad.
And Silk Road.
This is a nice looking starting hand for CrystalMath, though.
So did they just give up on the flag? I feel like FrYoungtrad should not be letting Math have the flag for this long.
We are just greening hard.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, at this point, it's too late to go back. Like you're now you're locked in. But I don't like how early they green.
Also, always play the imp before the bustling here. You won't need the actions, but...
Like, for example, I could not conceive of taking provinces when there's still bustling villages and royal carriages to be gained. And the only reason I'd even consider doing that is if I was worried about a 3-pile that is obviously not present here. I want as many bustling villages and royal carriages as I could possibly get my hands on. And then I'll score somehow when we get there. Not worried about that.
I'm surprised by the lack of merchant guilds here, because plus buy is good, people. Like, if there's plus buy on the board and it's not like garbage.
I mean, merchant guild is the best payload for the engine player, right? I mean, if they...
it's a plus buy. Like, even if you're not going to build up some massive engine that plays like 5 merchant guilds, like, I want one, so I have extra buys. I
don't think merchant guild is mandatory. I mean, obviously having extra buys is good, but you could also be getting multiple provinces per turn via expand.
You can expand stuff. Like even still, I feel like the plus, like especially when these people are like hitting like 10 and stuff.
The argument against Merchant Guild is it's a terminal action, and if you're a little cramped on villagers, you might be spending a lot of those playing extra imps and oracles or other way.
It also doesn't play great with carriage.
Yeah, it's true. Calling Royal Carriage on Merchant Guild is a little bit sad because while it doubles the +5 portion, it doesn't double the profit portion.
On the flip side, though, you can also play Merchant Guild as Otter and still get profits from it.
Oh yeah.
Although then you lose out on the main benefit of the +buy.
I mean, yeah, but if you have multiple Merchant Guilds, you can play one of them to draw, for instance. I feel like I would be getting Merchant Guild here. But also, I would probably be building longer than these guys are, so maybe if they really didn't intend to green this early, they'd only get it.
That is a potential argument against Merchant Guild. It's just that it costs 5, and Royal Carriage also costs 5, and I would really love to have as many Royal Carriages as I possibly can. And so it might just be the opportunity cost of passing up on a carriage is too high. I could see maybe getting 1 if I have a ton of money, and I really want the +buy. But it's not. It's not like a card that I desperately want to get.
Oh man, don't take it. That's just a game killer. Well, I don't know. Or it's a desperation play.
I know it's. Never mind. It's not CrystalMath's turn.
Yeah. So we play Settlers.
Don't think I want to call the carriage on Settlers.
Oh, I guess it was to play as Otter. Okay, that makes sense. So
I think I want to save that carriage to hopefully throw in a Tormentor.
I don't understand why you're calling the Royal Carriage so early. You could draw more and then reevaluate whether you want to call Royal Carriage.
I could have waited to play on before
Like, it may turn out that you in fact need an extra action this turn.
Well, let's see. Do they have? They should draw with the Settlers. Okay, now they have a win, right?
Do they?
Yeah, they have another carriage down. So just
okay, yeah.
Performance right? Yeah, I can count.
Yep. So that was just a really bad violation of the penultimate province rule.
And an awful locust on the last turn just to add insult to injury.
Yeah, crashing an imp would have hurt.
Yeah, I think that's what penultimate province like. Yeah. Honestly, there would be an argument to be made for Math breaking the penultimate province rule just because they didn't have anything better to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Math's deck was definitely worse, so maybe they should have broken it.
Yeah, I mean, there are times where you need to YOLO province and just hope your opponent duds because you don't really have an out, or you don't think your deck can survive Duchy Dancing.
Yeah.
Now that did seem like a little bit of a unexpected result. It seemed like CrystalMath was in the driver's seat for most of that game. Although greening early kind of gave up that advantage.
Yeah, I think once the greening started, they were like fairly even.
Alright, what have we here?
Oh boy.
This is interesting. So, I mean, you got really good big money things with like Trove, Exploration, Patrol, Vanish. You also got the workings in an engine, despite weak trashing.
I'm so tempted to play the engine.
I think I would actually play money here, just because City's going to be really bad for so long. If your opponent isn't helping you lower piles.
I mean, I would love to play something stupid with universities and horse traders and minions. But I don't know if that's actually smart. Like, in fairness, the minion attack does hurt the money, but it doesn't hurt,
I mean, it's worth considering. I'm not saying money.
The minion deck looks decent. I mean,
the thing
with
is, like,
banish,
banish isn't weak per se, but it is awkward to trash with.
yeah, the minion deck has a hard time getting a big hand to banish.
Yeah, that's the thing with minion.
I'm changing my opinion. I'm actually I'm pretty persuaded that like an early patrol or something is enough to get a good banish or two in. Yeah, I don't like money.
Yeah, that's true. Patrol banishing estates is actually really good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I respect my previous statement.
There's also like maybe you can try university for island stuff.
I really don't like opening island shantytown.
I gotta strongly agree with that.
Yeah, that seems like
I kind of want to open exploration.
I think exploration town.
Yeah.
Definitely exploration. No question there. I'm taking exploration.
It looks like neither of them could, but like exploration potion, if you can, would probably be pretty nice.
No, I want the copper because I mean, if I needed to hit 5, I definitely want a 5 on my second shuffle. If I don't need to hit 5, it'll help me banish more total cards when I get to that point. I think Explo Shanty into Patrol is your first 5, and then you're actually not even sad if the Shanty and Patrol collide, because you can play Patrol first and still play Shanty as needed with the villager that you've got.
Yeah, that's true.
And then banish all these things once, and then pretty soon you're going to be looking to banish a bunch of coppers, although that doesn't necessarily need to happen immediately.
So then, I guess once you like do start transitioning to an engine, do you want to be messing around with cities? Because like I feel like with universities you could empty the cities like fairly quickly.
Yeah, I'm taking the cities.
Yeah, so I would definitely I think try university for cities and then.
Oh, hitting 4 here is really sad. Oh no, never mind. Why wasn't I thinking banish +5? Hitting 4 here is great. Yeah, banish all these states. That was a good play.
So yeah, Crystal Math looks like way behind now.
So, what's the issue? The opening here for Crystal Math just seems so much worse.
Yeah, they opened Shanty Island. The island missed estates. The Shanty missed the shuffle. And then they collided on turn 5. Like.
Yeah.
That seems like rightly getting punished for a weird opening.
Another benefit that we haven't talked about that they're passing up on of exploration is, especially if you're looking to play banish early, you're getting a second free exploration off of that, because exploration gives you benefits whenever you don't buy cards, and banish is not a card, so you'll still get an extra villager and coffer the turn you buy banish, or turns, so you're probably doing it 2 or 3 times here. Capital is interesting to me. I don't think I like it very much. I would do it if I needed to hit a big number for like banishing all my coppers, but I don't think.
Okay, it's the side door near the garbage cans. I'll come right up.
Here. I would like capital more if they had exploration, because then you can like actually use the like you could do a big turn with capital and then pay off the debt and get your exploration stuff next turn.
Here, I think I would consider exploration banish, maybe.
Are they gonna banish coppers here? I feel like you probably should, right?
I think that's what I would do.
I mean, the capital looks pretty nice through that lens of trying to banish.
But you don't need it for that, though, right? Like 2 silvers would also afford enough money to banish all the coppers.
Yeah, but they didn't know they'd draw it with the silver. Like. Now that you have the capital, certainly I'd imagine banishing with it. Oh, and then exploration here.
Yeah, this seems like a clear exploration buy. The alternative, I think, was just to not banish at all this turn.
Wait, what?
And then buy 2 things and banish when you hit like 7 coppers or something. Building a little.
Yeah, no, I like banish.
Oh,
they forgot they had to play the 4th copper first. But they're trying to buy a 5.
I'm very...
Capital
I like
feels pretty bad to me on this board.
The more they're undoing, the less I'm liking what they're doing.
Well, no, I mean, presumably this one was just they forgot they had to play the other copper first.
Yeah, my point. I understand why they ended a second time. My point is they're straying further and further from what seems like the optimal buys.
Well, I mean, they're still banishing copper. They're just playing other ways. I mean, that seems like reasonable. I like banish exploration because you're probably going to get a second exploration hit that when you're paying off the debt next turn.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, I mean, there's here. Okay, it looks like FrYoungtrad is at least thinking about whether to trigger the shuffle here. I think it was fine to trigger their deck so small anyway.
Yep.
So, yeah, maybe it seems fine. Man, see so many situations where I'm wishing I had exploration as both players.
Yes.
Yeah, exploration would be so nice on this board.
I really like opening exploration. I do it very often.
I mean, you're paying 4 for a coffer and a villager, even if you only trip it once, that's kind of like opening silk.
Like often what you're doing early on in turn 1 and turn 2, if you have the 4-3 opening, is trying to maximize your chance of hitting 5. And having a free coffer going into the next shuffle is a very good way to do that. So what are we buying here? Definitely university. And could consider banishing those 3 coffers.
University and a minion, maybe?
University Patrol. I don't think I want to be drawing with Minion in the long term. I think Patrol looks better to me.
Yeah, I agree.
Like Minions get a lot worse once cities activate, because Draw the X plays less good with cities than Patrol does.
Ooh, gold. No. Why did you do this to Jane House?
Oh. Alright. So, step 1 of playing Dominion is don't buy golds. It's never... Oh, actually, pause on that real fast. This hand from FrYoungtrad is yet another reason why exploration is good. Having villagers is a good way to resolve duds, where, for example, you've got a nice terminal draw card that's going to draw your other actions dead. Anyways, yeah, back to this gold problem. I feel like it's one of the most common mistakes I see
not more capital
games is gold is just like, it's like a mediocre card, and the problem it has is it's a mediocre card that costs as much as all the good cards. Like almost in the large majority of kingdoms, the good cards are going to be 5 or 6 cost action cards. And I think the mistake players make is they just sort of assume, oh, gold is 6, those actions are 5, so it must be better. And in reality, it's usually you're just passing up on a much better play. For example, like a minion or a patrol or a city or something. Silver has a place because it costs 3, and so you might need to buy it if it's a stepping stone to get there.
No university there? Not buying university there just to save the 2 debt seems quite wrong. University is a very good card.
Yes, I would like to have universities in this.
Well, yeah, especially since you had the potion out anyway, and the only opportunity cost is like 2 debt.
University even maintains usefulness a little bit longer than normal here, because once you're greening, you can university for islands for 2 points per play.
Coming.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, university is fantastic. It usually is fantastic.
I don't think it matters particularly much what order you do this in, because you're going to draw it all. I would definitely leave that city on top. No! Why did they do that?
I mean, I think they haven't yet gotten the ordering really down. Like you saw before they drew a city dead, which they could have avoided with different ordering.
I'm not 100% sure, but I believe the city was on the bottom there, and they went out of their way to reorder it to put the city on the top, so that they needlessly drew it. So, I mean, in case it's unclear, the obvious problem here is you didn't need the city this turn. It's literally just a village, right? You're getting free action at a turn where you already have more actions than necessary. Leaving it on top is better because you resolve the potential for the thing that happened, what, a turn or two ago, where you have a patrol in hand and then no villages to play it with.
Yeah.
It's absolutely better to leave the city on top than to put it in your hand and do nothing with it.
University? No, what? I want all the universities here.
Look at this hand. Look at what they've done to themselves. This was exactly what we were just talking about. This is entirely self-imposed.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and also, I mean, the lack of exploration because, like, villagers are really, really, really good. Well, the first villager is really, really good.
Yeah.
That's why exploration is good.
Yeah.
Okay, this is obvious university. This is just really sad. Play patrol and bye. Sorry about my dog.
Yeah, I agree with John. I mean, obviously, it's not a wholly true statement. There is a fair degree of luck in Dominion, but there's a lot of places where people think they're getting bad luck, when in reality, their plays are increasing the chance they dud dramatically, and then the duds are just the consequence of those plays.
So I really don't like capital on this board.
I think it's fine because until cities like really activate, you do need some amount of plus buy to like buy university plus something else. I mean, like they might have gotten a little bit early, but I definitely see the rationale of picking it up. Not because of the spike in money, but because you'll want the plus buy.
I feel like horse traders is still probably better for that, right?
That's a fair point though.
Well, yeah,
I'd rather be playing with horse
minions.
traders by.
They're not using the minions like effectively, but since they have them, I would be happy to pick up a horse trader's reaction every now and then. Oh my god.
Well, I think the most effective way to use minions in this kingdom is just to leave them in the supply pile. I'm not convinced you need minions here. Like the patrol plus city stuff just seems like the better direction to go. And obviously doing both of those together doesn't work very well. I wonder if it's worth it, and I think it very well might be, to have a singular treasure trove. You can periodically banish the coppers, coppers if they get bad. And like one $5 card gets you a whole lot of golds if you really want more payload in your deck. The alternative is just like universitying for minion as functionally a fancy silver. I want to be perfectly clear. I am resolutely opposed to buying gold.
But gaining gold.
The problem with buying gold is that it trades off with other $5 cards. If you were in a situation where your treasure trove could gain you a copper and a city, I would also be very opposed to gaining gold. The problem is not so much that gold is not a card you take for free. If, for example, treasure trove gives it to you, buying it is almost always a mistake. If I were to play a hero, would I gain a gold over a silver? Generally. There's obviously exceptions to that. Like in this kingdom, I would not gain a gold off of hero when I could gain a trove or a capital. But there's plenty of kingdoms where you quit gold. Another case where I don't think the order matters particularly much because you're going to draw it all.
Yeah, these minions are kind of looking awkward in this deck.
They're basically silvers.
Yeah.
I would have considered taking the second to last city there. I think leaving one city is often awkward. Or no, maybe not. Your opponent's got universities too. I was gonna say, then they have to take it on your turn, but they could take it mid-turn.
Yeah, you can activate mid-turn here.
Yeah, activating cities is like really easy here.
As is usual, I strongly dislike the province buy. It does not feel like greening time yet.
I mean, I mostly just want all the universities.
I feel like a thought process that goes through a lot of people's heads is like, oh look, I've got like big numbers of money right now, therefore I need to buy a province with it.
Yeah, I mean,
that's not really what you want.
In fairness, university can make piles disappear really fast.
We're not near that stage yet.
We're not.
There's only 5 universities gone.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Is I was like, if it were me, I would have a bunch of universities here, and then a situation like this, there might be cause for starting the green because
the fact that university can
I would want to be able to
fast.
recommend people.
Yeah,
well,
it's part of the
once 2 piles empty, the game is like basically going to be over because whoever has the city stack can just empty estates usually. So,
like for example, I was just playing a game. I think it was yesterday where I had 4 universities to the opponent's 2, and then there was no plus buy, so it came down to like buying province, duchy, and so forth. And then it's just unwinnable for the opponent at that point because you can lower piles with the university and just leave them at like 4, and then they can't touch them because they only have 2 universities, so they can't pile out the last 4 actions. And you just wait till your turn, pile out the last 4 actions of your universities, and then buy the province.
Buy green, yeah.
I very much like that pile control, and they're kind of forfeiting that by greening too early.
Well, yeah, and just by not buying universities.
Yeah. It's not yet line time, as they say.
Oh man, bottom decking that university is sad. Not that not that you necessarily want to empty cities, but like.
Is it sad? Can't they just draw it?
Well, my point is, I would have liked to have it before so that we could empty cities and trigger them, but maybe that's not necessary.
I don't see why triggering the cities is important here though, because you're going to overdraw regardless. If you're triggering the second effective city, then it would make a difference. I think I would draw the university and then leave patrol on top.
Yeah, actually, maybe you don't lower cities. Well, also just like winning the city split is good. Now they're all lost cities.
3 capitals does feel like too many capitals.
Yeah, this is a situation where I would want to be greening. Like maybe they green to like 1 turn too early or something. Like at this point, like this is like the piles could. Yeah, I mean like on FrYoungtrad's next turn, I think they can probably empty piles if they're up on points.
This turn, I think you could justify buying a province.
Yeah, like you should be greening here, I think. But I mean, you gotta be. So the capitals are 18, so you really only have 13 coins.
I was thinking of something like, I don't know, like
honestly,
Union Double Province, Banish Coppers.
Honestly, maybe at this point you buy another capital and just go all in on it. Like,
I know.
If you do province capital,
the problem is
just like win next turn, right?
But you're not threatening that much because they have 18 debt they have to pay off right now.
No, if you do capital here, you pay off all the debt. That's the idea.
Oh, and just don't do anything else. Just
the idea is just buy capital now and then have no debt, and then have the ability to hit like 40 or something next turn. With a couple of universities to lower patrols, and you can empty like patrols and then
islands.
Who knows what else? Yeah, you can empty patrols and then possibly use the cities to like empty estates or whatever. I feel like there's a lot.
Island looks the easiest, especially because you can use university to gain them.
Yeah, they only have 2 universities though, so those would be gaining patrols. I'm just thinking of whether or not they can activate city next turn. I don't know. I think
They definitely can if they buy another university here, which they should do, because then they can gain control.
Yeah, true. I guess rather than province capital, I think province capital university would probably be the right move.
I don't understand. They keep passing up on the university.
Yes,
$2
several times now.
I think
$2 for university would be a very minimal cost.
Yeah, I think they're under the impression that 2 universities is enough or something. I don't think it is here, especially now that you just added a ton of draw to your deck by triggering cities. Like, you can certainly draw the extra university.
And like each of those universities, like it's 2 points. Like that university, the very next turn is going to get you an island. So the next turn, it's already scored points for you.
Well,
Oh
yeah,
no,
and
play
it's,
order.
like, extra pile control, which is arguably more important than the 2 points.
Yeah.
So an alternative way to play that couple sequence was play the city, minion for 2 coins, island something, and then play shanty to draw.
This line seemed fine, but I don't know, maybe they just... It seems like they were probably dotting either way.
This looks like a winning position for Youngtrad.
Yeah, even despite the lack of university, Youngtrad might still be able to win here.
Yeah, with the university, winning here would be trivial. I think they do they still win?
I mean, they can't. Sadly, they can't empty patrols mid-turn now.
Oh, maybe they don't have to win anymore. You're right.
Well, what do
Yeah,
they
so
need?
they've got 2 universities and 4 buys, right? So they're 1 buy short of emptying patrols and islands.
Yeah, if they had a couple more universities, I think they'd be in a much better position, but they are also failing to draw here, so...
Yeah, if they had 1 more university, they probably would have just won. So, I mean, I imagine you hit the patrols or maybe the islands?
Yeah, like, I think if last turn had been a university and banishing the coppers, then you're in a situation where you're very likely to win the following turn.
I mean, look at Math's hand anyway. Like, Youngtrad is crushing here in pretty much any line. I think.
Indeed.
Like, Math just didn't get enough draw, I don't think.
So what are you doing here?
What do you...
I think just double province is Youngtrad seems safest.
What are they trying to undo? They gonna banish coppers or something? That seems like a really silly thing to do this late in the game.
Last turn would have been a good turn to banish coppers. I would have paid to banish 4 coppers.
I wouldn't have expected to be gutting though, with all those cities.
All right.
Wow, they really are banishing 2 coppers.
It's not too late. They can still get it. Better late than never.
Well, don't banish the province. That's not worth your money, right?
Neither is banishing 2 coppers.
Well, exploration. Yeah. Do it. You'll get it now. Okay, never mind. Not gonna happen.
I mean, the exploration probably wouldn't have been worth it either, because you're taking more debt because of it. Like, no, I mean, double banish exploration would have been terrible there.
I'm still not convinced the exploration ship has sailed.
I think it has, J-Nails. It's clearly floating out there.
Okay, come on. Youngtrad just needs to find both of their universities while playing as few cities as possible. Okay, put the university... No, stop. I'm sure there's a win here. I'm sure they have a win. University...
Okay, empty patrols before you click more cities.
This is trivial. This is trivial. Empty patrols and islands.
So just to clarify the mistake that's happening here, because it seems apparent they don't notice it, is once they play both universities, they empty both patrols, and then all these cities now give you plus buy and plus coin.
The cities get better, yeah. So what I was saying is I wanted them to hold off on playing the cities as long as possible to try and empty before.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because look, I mean, they ended up with 5 patrols in hand. They could have been using those to draw. They had plenty of actions.
Yep.
Empty
I mean, they
style.
win here anyway. Like, it's still a super easy game. Does not look like emptying provinces is possible.
They might could have emptied province if they got the city sooner.
Yeah, might have been with... Oh, with horse trade. Yeah, maybe. I mean, they won. A win is a win.
Alright. So it was a pretty long game. Definitely a lot to improve on. I think the biggest thing was just no exploration.
And more universities.
Yeah, more
Don't stop after
universities.
2.
Yep.
I mean, maybe if there's like not that many good things for university to gain, you can stop after 2. But in this, there's like city and patrol that are both like great targets, and then island if you need to be exploring too. There was so many good university targets. So definitely don't stop after 2.
And also, I think we saw 2 of the most classic and consistent pieces of advice here, which is A, don't buy golds, and B, don't green so early.
Words to live by.
Truly. What's the match score so far? I actually don't even recall. Is it 3-0?
No. I think Crystal Math won the game where PPR came up.
I thought they were the one who violated PPR. And then
No, it is 3-0.
Huh.
I have consulted dumb bots.
Cool, Texas. Oh, this is a fun kingdom. Look at this. Oh boy.
Ooh.
I like that.
Sack Fortress,
Wow,
peasants here to play.
There's so much stuff going on here.
So, opening, I think, without much thought, is definitely Spice Merchant Peasant, and then you're getting Exo ASAP. The goal is going to be to build, no question. It's going to be a huge engine. You could buy all the provinces in one turn if you felt like it.
Why do you dislike this board, John? It's a really cool board. Yeah, I mean, it's a Megaturn board, so it's pretty swingy.
Is it that swingy?
What do you do with the 5-2?
5. I don't see how 5-2 changes anything.
I'm tempted by Cobbler, honestly.
That's fair. You could consider Cobbler to gain the Spice Merchant mid-turn. If you see Cobbler turn 3, you're really happy. If you see
if you see turn 4, it's sad. But also, I mean, then you've got a Cobbler, and like you want a lot of fortresses, so it'll still have stuff to gain.
Highway is not the move. It really doesn't do much for you. Something.
Highway is, a truly bad buy. Forum is worth considering. Cobbler is worth considering. Spice Merchant's worth considering. Exo is worth considering. Those are the 4 things you could possibly justify. I think Spice Merchant is my choice. Cobbler second, Forum third, Exo fourth. Nothing else is worth buying.
The double peasant is interesting.
I also just like there's kingdoms where double peasant looks really good. I don't think this is one of them.
I mean, at the very least, you can still exchange them both if they collide.
How does Way of the Frog work?
Yeah, it's just like Scheme.
Yeah.
So
yeah, with Frog
you can exchange and top deck,
you choose
but
whether to top deck or exchange.
Like if Spice Merchant and Exo weren't around, I would definitely take Peasant over like Peasant Silver or something. Actually, even that's not so sure. Like if those didn't exist, I might want Forums. Like it's not terrible, but I think it's passing up on some really good openings. Okay, buying silver. Hate it with passion. Some more peasant seems good.
see right here, this highway is effectively just acting like a really expensive peddler.
Indeed.
Whereas Spice Merchant would help you get to
big numbers.
Spice Merchant's great because it's both trashing and it's draw, so it helps you cycle through your deck faster, get those travelers up the line.
Yeah, so is Exo, but it's a little slower at that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I guess for clarification, maybe the point of this kingdom, like you've got a very strong engine. You've got great trashing, you've got great draw, you've got highway, which makes everything cost 0. You can get as much plus buy as you want with teacher if you need it, peasant if you don't want teacher, Spice Merchant even. You can buy all the provinces in one turn. So the goal is to build as fast as possible. And so with peasant, you just want to get really thin and play lots of peasant, get lots of disciples, maybe a teacher, and then your deck's just going to explode from there, like absolutely massively. And so the goal is not to put money in your deck. The goal is not to like get the high cost cards. The goal right now is just to play peasant and get thin. And so you want peasants, you want Spice Merchants, you want exorcists, because those are going to trash your stuff. The things they're doing don't seem oriented towards that. Highway's a card you want eventually, but not early. And silver is not really a card you want here.
Also, I don't think you frogged that fortress. Why wouldn't you draw?
I'm not sure.
Do you know? Maybe he knows he has Terminal Collision coming up?
They can't possibly know. There's 11 cards left in their deck.
I know,
I mean, you can keep
I'm
frogging
grasping
it,
here.
not that that's very good.
What terminal actions even exist? All the peasants in the pile.
Yeah, I guess with
the
Frog
Frog
too,
Soldier.
you don't really have to worry about terminals.
I don't know what terminals they thought were possibly colliding there.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they're trying to line it up.
Oh, sad disciple.
Yeah,
Okay.
maybe they're trying to line up Fortress with Exo, which is like not what you want to be doing with Exo, but at least it's like semi-reasonable.
They still have estates. There's no reason to be trying to line up Fortress
Yeah,
with Exo.
I mean, like it's not right, but I can at least understand why you wouldn't be trying to do that. Did they manage to bottom deck Exo?
Discarding that estate was definitely wrong. Maybe they're considering asking for an undo, in which case they should. What?
Why are they frogging things?
What are they? What?
I think they're trying to pull off Exo Fortress. That's still my guess.
That is so not worth it.
Yeah, it's not. I mean,
Incredibly not worth it.
No, you don't want Teacher. Not
really?
this early.
Teacher seems fine just because plus buy is like in high demand.
I guess
here.
slapping plus buy token on highway is really
Yeah,
good.
I think I want Teacher, especially if I get a chance to get it this early.
Yeah. Like, you could play without Teacher, but I think this is the kingdom where I just want plus buy enough to get the Teacher. Anyways, going back to this mistake, I think FrYoungtrad is thinking that's very wrong.
Draw as well.
So, in Imp, like, it's basically Laboratory. Laboratory draws you one more card. So you get through your deck one card faster. Another way to get through your deck one card faster is just to trash a card, so there's one less card to draw through. So even if you got nothing for it, just trashing an estate with Exorcist would be as valuable as getting it. As it turns out, you get a Will-O-Wisp, which is way better than nothing, and in a Kingdom with Highway, that Will-O-Wisp is basically going to be a lab itself.
Yeah, Wisp Highway is very nice.
Yeah. So, like, Exo Fortress is, like, kind of neat, maybe happens at some point, nowhere near as important as their, like, utter bricking of their last shuffle suggests.
Yeah. I'd rather be doing like Sacrifice Fortress than Exo Fortress, probably. I don't know. I mean, I don't think you really need to mess around with either one of them.
Sacrifice Fortress is fine because it makes Sacrifice a laboratory. The consideration of Fortress to reliably line it up.
I mean, Forum can help lining it up, but yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
you
probably just
I would consider doing that sort of thing.
you probably just put plus card on Highway for draw.
I really want to put plus buy on highway.
I mean, yeah, but then how are you gonna draw?
I don't think the game should get far enough that you even have a plus card token. Like, I think the game ends, you put plus card on Highway, and then you empty the provinces. Sorry, plus buy on Highway and empty the
Actually, I
provinces.
guess you're right. Maybe you could put plus buy on Highway, and then like if you can empty provinces, you do.
Like, what are the stop cards in your deck even that you need to draw?
You're right. Plus buy on Highway seems better. If it's not enough, then I can always just put plus buy on Highway, buy like 5 fortresses, and put plus card on Fortress if I need to. But you're right. I might not even need to do that.
Like, the Spice version will get rid of Coppers pretty fast. The Exo will get rid of Estates.
And
You're going to have very few cards that you even need to draw in the first place.
Yeah, that's true. You can take the free forums and then put plus card on that if you need to. If you need to have the draw.
I just expect not to
Also,
get to the
depends
point
on the
where
highway
you can
split.
have a plus
Also,
card.
it depends on the highway split, because you're not emptying provinces with 5 highways.
You're emptying something with 5 highways. Like, if highways are empty and I have 5 of them, then forums are also empty, or empty the moment I want them to be empty. And then you have to buy one other thing.
I really don't like that cobbler.
Way too late for Cobbler. At this
you
point,
can't
Cobbler's
use it.
Yeah, too late for Cobbler. Frog is
like, the argument for Cobbler is you really want Spice Merchant in the opening, and if you get Cobbler, it can get you spices in the same shuffle, and so it's like getting to have your Cobbler needed too.
Why does Math even want that sacrifice on top of their deck?
That's a very good question too.
I don't even want it. I want to have things that highway can draw and draw their highways and then buy lots of things.
So I think a big takeaway here is, in this game they have not prioritized trashing nearly enough. Obviously, trashing is just in general incredibly valuable.
Oh yeah, I didn't even notice Spice Merchant at 10. Yeah, that's a sin.
Yeah.
Spice Merchant for coppers and Exo for sure.
Exorcist is a phenomenal trasher. Spice Merchant's a phenomenal trasher. They both decided to trash with Sacrifice, which is a very weak and slow trasher. And trashing here is even more important than usual because, like, the main goal here is just to advance the cousins up the line. Disciple's a great card. It's pretty good.
Yeah, and the draw is pretty weak.
Yeah. Right, like, if you start trashing early, you can get all the coppers and estates out of your deck, and then you basically don't need actual draw cards.
A couple wisps will draw everything.
Yeah, the wisps will come in handy too. Of course, also, if you got a bunch of highways, it's harder to get wisps. Like,
You'll get, if you play this Kingdom in the correct order, you'll trash all of your estates before you get a bunch of highways. Yeah, and then 3 wisps will be more than enough, because you shouldn't even have 8 stop cards in your deck that you'll need to draw.
Yes, that is true. So, wait, FrYoungtrad got a second cobbler.
To their credit, it seems like they have, like, the correct long-term goal in mind. Like, they seem to have both identified that the goal is to play a bunch of highways. We're not seeing them buy, like, Reap or anything. They've just chosen a very poor order to get there.
This is Forum.
Wait, which token is that? Is that the plus? Oh, never mind.
That's
I was
+5.
I thought the plus coin token for a second. I was about to have a heart attack. Yeah, +5 on highways is totally fine.
I liked the old tokens that had the letters.
That
Fortress Silver? What?
That must have been that should have been a Forum, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like when you. Like,
the Fortress is okay if you want to throw a token on Fortress or something.
I mean, Forum is like the only reason why you might like the only way to salvage a deck that is not like trashed enough is just to stuff it with Forums, I think. Because with Forum, actually, like it's not as bad if you're not super trashed.
The best case for having Fortress in your deck is that it turns Sacrifice into a laboratory, which is a thing you might want to do. Where you have one of those.
Fortress is easy to amass, and you can put a token on it for the other reason. But I mean, a Forum, you can also put a token on it, and once you have enough highways down, it's super easy to amass.
Yeah, Forums would be the easier card to collect a lot of. You need to get a bunch of highways down, but then you can just grab the whole pile.
Looks like they might be able to do it here. CrystalMath might be able to do it on the next turn. This is just sad. Okay. So what do? You put card and Fortress here.
Coin?
No.
Oh man, this is not a 15-turn game.
Hey, delivery? Sure.
Play the upstairs.
Come here.
I wonder how long this game should take.
Come.
So, like 12, 13 maybe, if that. Maybe even less. Probably less than that. Probably like a lot. I don't know. I'm not very good at estimating game length, but definitely shouldn't be close to that. Is FrYoungtrad skipping feature here? We got a lot of disciples.
So, I mean, skipping teacher is often a good move just because Disciple's such a strong card. I think there's a very good case to be made for getting teacher here because it's a very simple way to get +5. Yeah, and there's not many cards I want to Disciple. But like as a general principle, it's not a bad idea to think critically about whether you even want teacher in Kingdoms.
Yes. Disciple highway is pretty underwhelming because the highways are like obviously going to be gone and you don't get the double the
Yeah.
fact. So yeah, Disciple's like sort of underwhelming here. And Teacher is great because you can put +5 in Highway, obviously.
Why did they put the coin token on Fortress? I'm so confused.
Why do you need coins?
Everything costs 0.
You're still not drawing.
CrystalMath just wins here now, right? 54 into the fortresses.
Yeah, Forum and Fortress.
They see it.
Oh no! No!
Stop. Stop.
Is this a nightmare?
I think.
This is what my nightmare looked like. Is
Yeah, I
people
was gonna say.
buying the cards that win them the game on base.
Why would
Yeah,
you want to
you're-
win the
I
game when you
don't-
could get gold?
I don't blame them for missing the pile out. Like this is a weird like Highway Forum is like a weird niche interaction, but like at least like you should look for a little bit. Like you
At least you should buy anything with gold.
yes, and at least if you're not gonna like find the pile out, at least you're not gonna buy gold and unroll like this. Yes, so yes, for the people who are involved in this game, if you're watching this video after, go back to that point before the golds were bought and look and even better if you can load the game. I noticed that you can just buy all the forums because they cost 0 and give you an extra 5. So you can just buy all 10 forums at once, and then you have enough buys to also buy all the fortresses. Yeah, it's not necessarily an easy thing to find if you've never seen it before, but even if beyond that, like buying gold there, probably not a great. It's not a great idea. It's a horrible idea. I mean, I'm sorry if I'm being too mean to the players. Like,
I think
trying
it's
to be
okay.
helpful.
It's how you'll
I'm not-
learn.
Yeah, I'm trying to be helpful. Like, I'm not trying to disparage anybody. But like,
No,
I mean,
we were all
if
at
you-
that point at one point. We all sucked at some point and didn't spot pilots at all and green too early. It's the process of getting better.
I mean, that's fair. Like, yeah, and I mean that's a good point too. Like, even like, wait, what? I was gonna say that can't have been nothing I meant to do. Like even like strong players can miss pilots like that sometimes. They're just not looking for it. So what do you do here? I mean, I still want to get forums. Like forums a good card in general. I mean, it's a great card when your deck is looking like this, and you'd like to actually be seeing a good card. FrYoungtrad finally found a feature. And yeah, you probably do plus Brian. I guess this is kind of reasonable as well, because they do need to draw. And yeah. This order doesn't matter.
I kind of wanted to disciple an imp.
Well, now they can do that. Disciple imp. Yeah, that seems pretty good.
Gotta say, I like discipling the imp more than fugitive.
Yeah. So let's see. Okay, we got some nice sacrifice fortress action here. Yeah, Youngtrad's deck actually is like sort of coming together. It's gonna be a few turns before they can get plus by in highway. Also, it kind of looks like they lost the highway split pretty bad. So that's kind of unfortunate. Wow, they have so many travelers. So yeah, the highway split is like 7 with math, right?
Yeah.
But even still, like this looks. I guess I don't know if you can really come back from that kind of highway split.
No, there's still 3 disciples in the supply.
Okay, so they've got 2 buys. Not really enough to like do anything. Yeah, adding form seems fine. I guess you do want to try and get your plus buy onto highway, or well, at this point maybe rather put it on something else. You know, actually, you could probably want to.
I mean, I think they have the problem of they just don't have enough highways.
Yeah, yeah. You do think I do think you want to get the plus buy onto highway. They're gonna exorcist the cowboy. Oh,
All right, I've tested it. We're wondering how many turns it took. The answer is 12. This is you can do 8 provinces and 7 duchies in 12 turns.
all right,
yeah,
That's what I got on my first run through.
It makes sense.
I think you'd said 12 or 13, so
Yeah. That 12 was like my first guess actually. So I was like, but then I was like, I have no idea if that's right or not. This is a sad turn for CrystalMath. Also, that's kind of risky. I guess they have one more turn. They have one more turn before FrYoungtrad can get their plus buy token down. At which point they have to be worried about losing. Yeah, I think if FrYoungtrad can get to that point, they might be ahead, because they definitely have like way better deck control. This is kind of second barrel. Maybe I spoke too soon with that. Disciple the fortress, I guess. Trying desperately to draw.
So going back to something we were talking about earlier about disciple versus teacher. Now, teacher, I think, is in general something that you often skip, and the reason for that is disciple is really strong in the short term, right? It's incredibly strong, like King's Court level strong. Teacher is really good in the long term. You get the token down once, then it affects like a bajillion cards for the rest of the game. And games like in this kingdom should end real fast. And so you often just want that short-term immediate advantage of Disciple versus the long-term advantage of Teacher. Because the first turn you get Teacher, it's actually sort of actively bad in your deck. It's like a stop card taking up space. That being said, when you look at a game like this where it's going like 18 turns or more, this is the sort of thing that makes Teacher better. So if the game's going to last a long time, the tokens are going to eventually pay off.
Was there a win? Is there a win here on sacrifices? Discipling sacks? If you disciple sacrifices, is there a win here?
That's a good question.
I don't think you have enough buys is the problem. Oh, he sacked a sack too. It's no good. I think there might have been a win. You have 3 disciples, that's 3 sacrifices. Peasant gets you.
Thing, worth talking about here, I think, is the tokens. In general, the plus card token is just easily the strongest token. Drawing cards is just a way more powerful effect than any other 3. And so most of the time, I would say, like probably a slight majority of the time, the best token to take first is the plus card token. Like there's a reason Pathfinding costs 8. Training and Lost Arts, the action and coin one only costs 6, and Seaway is like 5 with a little bonus. The next most common thing is putting plus action on a terminal draw card because again, what you value is the draw, and then it just so happens that maybe in certain kingdoms, putting plus action on a draw card is the best way to get that. This game is kind of a rare exception where you do want the plus buy first, just because spinning is so easy, you don't need much draw, and you do need plus buy. That's not a common rule. And the reason I brought that up is because CrystalMath, I mean, they got plus buy first, which is good. But I think putting plus coin as your second choice is like a pretty big error here. Plus card should definitely be the second token you put down, especially when like, oh, you don't need the money that bad, and if you're drawing your deck, you're going to have more money as a result anyway. So I would not have even considered putting the plus coin token that early on any pile.
I find I very rarely get around to putting down the plus coin token.
Yeah, I feel like I almost never use it.
Yeah, like, again, plus card is often the strongest, plus action if there's low action, plus buy if there's low buy. You never need plus coin all that badly, because, like, there's always treasures in the kingdom you can add if there's no other payload, and usually there is other payload anyway, like highways, for example, here. If you trash the Dutch, you get a ghost. You shouldn't, but you could. Oh, they had one coin left over, so they could have treasured a copper there, right? Or am I missing something?
No, I think it could have. Maybe they just didn't think about it.
Oh, I don't like this play order. CrystalMath does have sacrifices in their deck, don't they? I'm not mistaken about that, am I?
Maybe like.
I think they mostly have treasure.
They have at least one.
Yeah, I think we got a few. I think FrYoungtrad has most of the sacrifices.
I believe CrystalMath has a sacrifice. Anyways, I would not be playing the fortresses before the highways, because at this point in the game, you don't have a lot of good sacrifice targets. And so, like, supposing you draw your, like, you play your last fortress and you draw a sacrifice. Well, now it's just a dead card. If you got a fortress around, you can sacrifice the fortress and then draw 2 more cards, which is much better.
These piles of that was a.
Why did you take a
FrYoungtrad
sacrifice?
must be able to win here. Put the cobbler down, disciple with sacrifice in hand. And teacher on the mat. Yeah, I'm sure FrYoungtrad will be able to empty sacrifices. Probably put something on the sacrifice pile will be fine. Honestly, maybe use coin here just because you're trying to make sure you have enough money to pile out. Poof.
I like that. I like that play. Putting plus card and sacrifice seems like a good idea.
Moving it from the fortress pile?
Yeah, you're gonna disciple a sacrifice. It's guaranteed 2 more draw.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like it doesn't really matter. I would imagine that FrYoungtrad would be able to win doing almost anything at this point. Yeah, I guess
I think I would have played the highway first.
No, you want to disciple that sacrifice.
Oh no, that's a mistake. It should still be winning. I'll be shocked if this isn't still winning, but I definitely discipled the sacrifice. And then you just like trash the soldier.
Yeah, you could trash the soldier or the fugitive.
They got more disciples. You definitely save at least one of the sacrifices to disciple it.
For him now.
Any sacrifice.
No.
Oh no. How much plus buy do they have? I think they might have they shot their chance to win? Now they don't have a disciple.
Who's got the peasant? Somebody's got a peasant.
Let's see.
I mean, probably Youngtrad has the peasant.
The last person to have gained a peasant is FrYoungtrad last turn, so yes, they got a peasant.
Oh yeah. Oh, they discipled a peasant.
Okay, so yeah, they've still got the win. They're doing a lot more than they need to get the win, but it's still there.
Okay, here's a disciple and
a... They still have more sacrifice to disciple also, so...
Disciple, disciple.
Okay.
Will we see a third?
Oh,
the triple.
Just yeah. Sacrifice. Find your peasants down there by sacrificing.
What? Why are they just doing the highways? I'm so maybe okay. Here's a confusion they might have. Obviously, normally when you play like a throne room or any throne room variant on a card, you get double the effect. Highway is one of these exceptions because the main effect you're trying to get from highway, the cost reduction, is not actually an effect of playing highway. It's an effect of highway being in play. It's below that line. And so if you disciple a highway, you get the plus card twice, you get the plus action twice, but there's still only one highway in play. So you're not actually reducing the cost of your cards any further by discipling it. And so I imagine that must be the mistake FrYoungtrad is making. Maybe they just haven't noticed because they're not looking at the cost of cards and seeing that it's only going down by one. That's my best guess for why they keep doing that. Is they're trying to empty provinces rather than sacrifices, and so they're trying to get a bunch of highway plays.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, they are emptying sacrifices now.
Okay, now they've still got the win here pretty easily. They've got plus buy with peasant, plus buy with spice merchant.
And they don't even need the plus buy because they just
they could just buy a province.
Sacrifices with disciple.
Wait, why don't they need plus buy?
Because of disciples.
Oh, I see. They have an unresolved disciple. I see.
Buy stated tunnel or something like duchy. I guess they can. Yeah, just buy the estate. That works.
Style. Oh, getting 3 teachers. Wow, look at those cards fly.
Gotta win the teacher split.
We did, if you look at the end of game stats, you can in fact see that 4 teachers to 1. It's a hard split to come back from.
Oh yeah.
But having only 3 highways and winning is pretty improbable there.
Yeah, I think it's just that they had better deck control. Like, CrystalMath had 7 highways, but wasn't able to see them all.
They also had a win that they didn't take.
Well, yeah, that.
But, yeah,
like, it's just tricky to combine the highways when you have 4 silvers and 2 golds.
Yeah, they were actively buying treasure and other stop cards for their deck at a point where they had enough highways to win.
Am I correct in assuming that means in 10 minutes there are reconvene comments?
Yeah.
Because that's not UTC, is that?
No, that's Eastern.
Is it Eastern? I think that's Central Time, right? Oh no, you're
1750. It's
right.
5.
Yeah, it's Eastern.
Yeah, it's 5:43 p.m. for me.
Same.
Yeah, Eastern. So yeah.
Where are they located? Do you think?
That's 10 minutes, I think.
So they're East Coast Americas, but they're also using 24-hour time. Could be someone in the military.
Maybe they're just in America, like using 24-hour time. I don't know.
They might be doing it too because they're not sure, like, if they're, just for scheduling something online. Sometimes you use UTC or 24-hour.
I mean, using UTC, I think I'd totally understand, regardless of where you are, just to resolve that time zone confusion. But yeah, Shanahan's got a pretty viable alternative.
I think Sean's line is more optimal. I like his build order there.
Yeah. Nice, clean, and simple. Very thin. It sounds very military-esque, right? Maybe they're part of the
especially the hour at the end.
Yeah,
am I wrong thinking a big chunk of South America is in that time zone? Maybe it's like one of those countries. I'm not sure. My operative guess is the military moment. It is indeed.
I wonder if there are any Dominion players in Antarctica.
How many people are in Antarctica?
That was really funny, Sean. I can't believe NASA actually decided to sing. I was just prodding him for no reason.
I promise you I cannot sing. Nor do I know any Billy Joel songs.
Everyone knows Piano Man.
I apparently am nobody then.
Shit. So what is the score now? Is it 4-0?
I believe so.
Yeah, the trend seems to me is that CrystalMath is doing well in the early game, and then is like not being able to convert it. Like CrystalMath has had an advantage in a couple of the games, right? And then
In game 2, they had an advantage for most of the game.
yeah, and I think it seems like one of the issues is just clicking on too much yellow and green and not enough white. Like in this game, for sure, they didn't need to buy those golds. They didn't probably need that many silvers, and maybe it been enough. Even though they did win the highway split and put plus buy on highway really quickly, which are both very important things.
Yeah, if there's 5,000 people in Antarctica, it's not inconceivable that someone plays Dominion.
I was actually just trying to find the population breakdown to see like which countries those 5,000 people were coming from. Now, one thing to clarify is it's 5,000 in the height of summer, and it drops by like 80% in winter. We're now somewhere like in between the two seasons, and so it could be anywhere between those two ranges. I still think it's pretty likely. Most people in Antarctica are presumably nerds. Like you go there because you're like a scientist of some sort, I would think.
And they're also probably pretty busy.
Well, the question is not are they playing Dominion in Antarctica,
Yeah.
I think, right? The question as stated was just do you think there are Dominion players in Antarctica?
Yeah, I guess. They don't have
like
frequent players.
I'm going to assign a very high likelihood that someone in Antarctica right now has played Dominion, like above 90%. 5,000 people who are like adult, relatively nerdy people for the most part is like pretty good demographic. I'm also going to go out on a limb and say a big portion are probably like U.S. or Russian, I would think. I'm guessing. I couldn't find the nationalities, but like I feel like those are like Dominion exists in the U.S. and I think to some degree in Russia.
Helpful.
My guess is there's not a Dominion set in Antarctica. I'm going to say relatively low chance of that. Oh, thank you, Shanahan. Argentina, not as sure.
I mean, if there were a Dominion player in Antarctica, it'd probably be an American. Just based on the numbers. Yeah, that's true. If there are more Germans, a German would also be a good guess.
Germans love the board games. Japan's represented. They got a Dominion scene. So, CrystalMath still had 6 coppers left over at the end of this game. And 2 estates. But I think one of them might have been bought, so maybe the estates is less telling. but having 6 coppers, 19 turns in, seems like a pretty clear sign of, I think, where this game went awry. I think I mentioned that I played through the kingdom and it ended in 12 turns, and like all the coppers were gone before the final turn.
Did you use teacher in that? You must have, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I delayed the teacher. I kept disciple around for a bit, and then got teacher to put it down the second to last turn,
Yeah.
so I could
But
get the plus 5.
the thing you were saying about disciple being better in fast games and teacher being better in slow games is a little bit misleading here because this game is only so fast because of teacher. Like
I mean,
with
not
that
necessarily.
plus by token, it wouldn't end that quickly. I don't think, right? You wouldn't be able to get that many like peasants.
My guess is it in like 2 turns slower.
Yeah, it would be a little bit slower.
How many peasants would you need?
A lot.
With
If you're trying to buy all the provinces, you'd need like
So
7.
suppose you have 2 peasants, right? You disciple both peasants, then you play the 2 peasants that you got off of that. You got 7 buys, and you buy 7 provinces.
Yeah, that's true.
And if you have like a spice merchant and a copper left over, then it's possible you might just have 8 outright. But like 7 provinces should be enough to win. But yeah, I think that like the thing you really wanted here was the +5 token, and I don't think you need the draw because you should be super thin. And so I don't think you need to get teach down as soon as possible because I don't want a second token. And so I waited until the turn it looked like I was going to win, and then got teacher then, or 2 turns before that, basically. Also, something that I guess is relevant is I noticed I like having 2 spice merchants in a kingdom like this. I think that if either A, you want to get very thin very fast, or B, there's a good way to sort of trash that card later for benefit anyway, then getting rid of the coppers at a faster rate can be very nice. And both of those are true here.
I feel like I almost never go for 2 spice merchants. Maybe I should more often than I do.
I think I do it with some fair frequency. My guess is maybe like a third of spice merchant games.
Yeah, being able to exo it into Imp's probably better, but it's pretty close. Being able to exo it is, I guess, nice.
Yeah, like Exo, Butcher, anything like that. Salvager.
Yeah, treasure. I guess it's kind of the same principle as getting 2 recruiters, which is something I do a lot. Although with recruiters you can feed one to the other.
Yeah, part of what's nice about is it trashes with like no tempo loss. So like adding one to your deck isn't slowing you down at all. It's just getting your coppers cleaner faster.
Well, yes, that's true. It doesn't slow you down until you run out of coppers, but at that point you have to. I guess the other potential issue is if you're losing economy too fast. Like if you get rid of all your coppers before you have like a sufficient other economy. But I guess with the highways here, that's probably not a big, and disciples, like that's probably not a big concern. So yeah, 2 spice merchants here seems not crazy. Have we stalled long enough? Seems like we have. We're almost. FrYoungtrad is back at least.
An alternative that could be worth considering could be like, as your third trasher, instead of going Spice Merchant Exo Spice, you go like Spice Merchant Exo Sacrifice. Again, because if you get a fortress at all, which you might, then that sacrifice is functionally going to be a laboratory. Yeah. I really like that they got the sacrifices early as their main trasher. Yeah. But after you've got Spice and Exo, it could be a viable third one. Well, we're ready. I don't know how to tell you that because spectator chat is off.
I mean, I think we're just waiting on math at this point.
I mean, I'm assuming that the y'all is meant to be inclusive of us.
Yeah.
It's possible that they believe there to be multiple people conspiring against them playing the singular CrystalMath account. I did see someone signed up for League. Their account name was like such and such surname family, implying there's like a whole family playing in the league and under one account. No, it can't.
I never heard
that. I have lived, unless we're talking about South America, which case I can't comment, but I have lived in the United States South my entire life, and y'all is the second person plural.
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak to that. I'm from
Give me a context. How would you use y'all singularly? Like if you're, I'm very skeptical of this. Like for example, I'm located in Louisiana as we speak, which is just like discount Texas, or Western Louisiana at least. East Louisiana.
All right, we're finally getting back into it.
We've got some.
Oh, this looks interesting.
So we have some kind of annoying villages. Yeah, I mean we got 3 villages and they're all annoying. So that's. But at least we got a bunch of them. I don't know, what is the...
It's no draw though. I mean, paddock is draw.
Yeah, well, mastermind horse is a thing.
Yeah.
That's probably what I want to be doing.
Yeah. So my thought so far, I want a lot of ironmongers early. So I probably want to open with groom and gain those, and then I'm opening with some other action card. You can trash with goat, and then eventually you just want tons of masterminds and paddocks, and then big deck.
Yeah. So yeah, that seems like a good end state.
I think for me it's groom Pearl Diver. Ideally, I want to use the Pearl Diver as way of the goat, and Pearl Diver is the card I'm least unhappy about if it collides with the groom, because I just played a +1 card. Whereas Squire, I think I'm a little sadder if they collide. Likewise with Abandoned Mine, I'm just sad that they collide because Abandoned Mine is, well, it's Abandoned Mine.
Oh,
2/5, I think paddock first.
Yeah, I like the paddock. Paddock Pearl Diver probably with the intent to probably use a Pearl Diver's goat.
Yeah. Horses as goat will also be nice if you happen to draw them in the right context. Not as much a fan of the Squire. You don't need the plus action yet. And it'll be a copper if it collides and a goat if it doesn't. I'd rather a card that's a cantrip if it collides and a goat if it doesn't.
Yeah, the Ironmonger opening seems probably... I agree that it's probably inferior to Groom because Groom is nuts.
Yeah, Groom seems great.
Oh,
like Ironmonger is not a bad card to open with in general, and it can help you hit 5, and the 5s are good here, so it's like, it's the next best card after Groom, I would say it that way.
Yeah, I mean, but Ironmonger being so good is one of the reasons that Groom is so good, because I want all the Ironmongers.
Yeah, it's really just a second.
It definitely took me a bit to appreciate just how good Groom openings are when you have some 4 costs or 3 costs that you want a bunch of.
I mean, the disadvantage of the Groom opening is, yeah, it does delay hitting 5, so, like, that would be the reason to open Ironmonger.
Yeah. The 5s here are good, but they're not 5s that you're desperate to get early. Oh no, oh no, oh no. Oh goodness,
2 VP.
Oh, 5-0 it is. Crystal Math.
Yeah,
You've been led astray by the siren call of Aqueduct.
Aqueduct isn't even the worst offender of this. The worst that I see this happening on is gotta be like Defiled Shrine. But this is the same principle. Like the points are usually not worth the tempo loss. Like even if there are a lot of points. Like I've seen Defiled Shrine, for instance, get up to like, you know, like 8 points sometimes. And it's still not necessarily right to take it, especially if you only have 1 die. Like here...
I've seen it get up to like 13, 14.
Yeah. I haven't seen that one as much, but, like I've seen it get up like high, like single digits a lot, and it's not necessarily right to take it. But in this case, you're paying... You're spending like... You have 3 coins. The alternative would probably have been like Pearl Diver or something. You're spending a turn to add a junk card to your deck and get 3 extra points, which is like, I mean, it's not nothing, but it's like, you don't want to be adding junk cards at this point.
I think about it this way. So an estate that comes with 2 extra points is basically like equivalent to a duchy for you. And I think people have this idea of like, oh, there's just like one of them sitting there, and if I don't grab it, my opponent is going to. But if someone just added an extra duchy to the pile, and they're like, oh look, there's 1 extra duchy here. If you don't buy the extra duchy, your opponent might. You would never click on the duchy, right? And I think it's a psychological effect of the points being there and they're accumulating, and there's one ability to get it to make people think it's like a lot more urgent than it is.
Well, I mean, yes, that is true. So the urgency is kind of like, yeah, if you don't get it, your opponent might get it, but the next logical step is to say, good for me. I hope they take it. Then they have added junk to their deck.
Yes. I
Like
find that I almost
Mastermind
never
like,
ever get the defiled shrine points and rarely the aqueduct points in games versus lower level players because my willingness to like pass the marshmallow test is much higher. In particular, there's two big costs here. The one that's obvious is you're putting a junk card in your deck, which is slowing your deck down rather than speeding it up, exactly the antithesis of what you want to be doing early on. A second one is you're passing up on a buy. So the second cost is the opportunity of like whatever else you could have bought instead. Like even if you only have two, buying a Pro Lever here is not bad. It's an extra cantrip at worst, trasher at best, target for your mastermind, and so forth. And so the cost goes down a little bit to buying that if, let's say, you have an extra buy and two left over, or just an extra buy and Defiled Shrine. If I have one extra buy and Defiled Shrine is sitting at like 5 to 7, I might strongly consider getting it. If I've got a one buy on the turn, then it's got to be up to like 8 to 10 before I even consider taking it. And that's in the average kingdom. Like I said, you can get kingdoms where like points are just not important, where it gets up to like 13 plus, like with Goons or a Bridge Megaturn or Horn of Plenty.
So this is I would say it's sort of a board like that because like it's not like obviously a Megaturn, but like this is a board where it will snowball. Mastermind is a very snowbally card. So the first person to start to have a deck that works will continue to have a deck that works. So like even if the aqueduct points were at like 6 or 7 or something, which I don't know why they would be because why are we gaining that many treasures?
Yes.
But if they are, like I probably would just ignore them and maybe I'll focus on getting my mastermind paddock engine up and running. And when that's up and running, if the points are still there, like okay, maybe I'll groom an estate and take like 8 points and then immediately goat the estate away. Like that's a fine thing, but you want to be doing that later.
I'm pretty sure with optimal play in this kingdom, at no point prior to maybe the very end game, do aqueduct points ever get touched. And they only get touched in the end game because maybe you've got like grooms and you're buying green cards in your final turn, and so you just groom for some silvers for extra points anyway.
Yeah, maybe. Or maybe use squires to gain silvers or something. You have a few
and again, only like the last turn or two when you're already scoring. But like you got money here with Paddock and Messenger and whatnot. There's no need to get treasures here.
So that province was not great.
Oh no, there's already a province gone?
I mean, I would say there is a mindset under which province makes sense, because that if you are under the impression that this is a money-ish board, which I mean, like, if there were no mastermind, like maybe that's defensible. Like maybe you can just say, okay, just like get some paddocks and then like get some other treasures.
No, like if you remove mastermind, like groom, ironmonger, paddock is still gonna crush money.
Yeah, I agree. But my point is like, it depends. I guess the question is why did they province? Did they province because I hit 8? Because that's really wrong. But if they province because this is a money board and I should just green early, like that's at least a different mindset. So I don't know. We'll have to see which one it was, but definitely don't auto click on province when you have 8. And they haven't been doing this usually, so
yeah.
Well, it's pretty kind of early. They sort of have, but yeah, I mean you shouldn't auto click on province like pretty much ever, except if it's a money board, then you usually are fine clicking province once you can afford it.
Yeah.
So that's the only reason I brought that up.
Yeah, so like a few considerations that are relevant here. One, the one thing that might make money competitive versus paddock in the abstract is that paddock is like can be bad for a while in a lot of kingdoms if you can't activate it early and you don't have a lot of plus action to go around. That won't be true here. Groom will help you run out the Ironmonger pile very fast, even if your opponent like buys no action cards and just plays pure money somehow. Then you could empty Ironmonger solo and then activate your paddock pretty easily. 2, Duke is around. And like in the abstract, I think I'd prefer Province over Duchy Duke here by a bit, but like not that much. And the big effect of having Duke around is not that it's better than Province, it's just that it's a second stack of victory points. And the more victory points are in the kingdom, the more you can afford to build. because if it was just provinces, then your opponent can get like 6 of the provinces and be relatively safe, because that's gonna be hard to outscore. You have to get like all the duchies and 2 provinces before they can get like the 7. If there's another source of victory points, like for example Duke, they can safely build longer. So even if you've gotten like 6 or 7 provinces, they can just take duchies at their leisure and buy dukes, and then they'll have more points in the long term. And so the timer is longer. The time until you win is 8 provinces now instead of 6 or 7, which once your deck is full of provinces, is going to be like 2 or 3 extra turns. And once their deck is a big engine, is going to be a huge amount of points in 2 or 3 turns.
Yeah, that's true.
And all of that is even abstracting from Mastermind, which only further exacerbates just how utterly losing money would be here.
I mean, the Mastermind interaction is like a special case of any throne room with any horse gainer is like really good. I mean, I guess, is there a way to set up? So Paddock is good at seeding horses in general. Is there another way to make sure that you have horses on top?
You don't need another way. Paddock is good enough. You play Paddock and you get a deck full of horses.
Yeah,
and then you put like 1 Pole Diver or 1 Ironmonger, and then you trigger a shuffle that only has horses in it. Yes, and then your Mastermind always hits.
That seems like sufficient for setting up. Yeah, once you got your deck going, at least. And it seems like with Way the Goat, it should get going fairly quickly.
And just to explain this a little bit further in case it isn't totally clear, throne room variants like Mastermind are A, just always like really strong cards in general, but B, like really good with horse, because like obviously the limitation of horses you only get to play it once. And so like Masterminding, you're getting like 3 uses out of that 1 horse. And so it's like you're reliably Masterminding a laboratory, which is really good, more good than like the $3 price value of horse would suggest.
So yeah, it looks like FrYoungtrad's deck is close to kicking off, and Math's deck is pretty sad.
Yeah, they both seem a bit under trashed at this point, in particular because not all their estates are trashed. There's 2 estates left untrashed. I'm not sure if that's both in one person's deck or... Let's find out. Trashes and estate.
No, there's 3 estates untrashed, because remember one of them got bombed.
Oh yeah, you're right. Oh goodness.
Well, it looks like Math has them all, because FrYoungtrad is 0 points. So.
Yeah, so, yeah.
FrYoungtrad, I think, is like...
3 estates in their deck. That suggests a humongous lack of trash.
I mean, what it looks like Math is doing is playing it in a mostly money way, which, like, as we have explained, is, like, wrong.
Well, let's talk about that for a second, because they're not actually playing pure money. They've got Masterminds in there, they've got Paddocks in there. And if I were money, what?
I said Paddock is, like, fine to have in money.
Paddock's okay, but, like, so Mastermind would be bad in a money deck. You wouldn't want to do that.
Yeah, it relies on actually having actions that it can find. Like, look at this.
Yeah. So, like, let's say someone told me, like, you have to play this kingdom as big money strategy.
No.
Oh, they just took more aqueduct.
Oh, goodness. Please stop that.
FrYoungtrad just intentionally stopped a turn early so they could leave a Mastermind on top to Mastermind a Mastermind. Not sure I like that.
I don't like that.
Ties up your Masterminds for a long time. It's generally better to play them individually and try to balance them than to play them chained on each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just to be clear, the problem there is that the first Mastermind is now staying out of your deck for an extra turn. And so you got extra Mastermind play or 2 out of it, but then it hurts you the next turn. So there's one turn where that would be good, which is like the turn before your final turn. You're happy to Mastermind your Masterminds, because then you're getting more Mastermind plays your final turn, which is the last turn where it could matter. The next turn doesn't exist. And you have 1 less Mastermind in your deck in your final turn, which like cleans your deck up a little bit. And so second to last turn, Masterminding Masterminds is good, but in general it's not like the best, like Kingsport and Kingsports would be. Anyways, back to the thing I was saying a second ago, is even if you're playing money, Groom would still be really good. Like, I would be very happy to just like get a Groom or 2 and just flood my deck with silvers if I were like convinced that this was a money kingdom. And CrystalMath does not have a Groom regardless.
Quick note is that Math just messed up the ordering here. They could have played the Paddocks before shuffling.
Oh yeah, that's big.
Because they give an extra action. They would have been able to put the horses into the shuffle.
Yeah, so let's see. Like, this seems like a position where FrYoungtrad should be decisively winning. But I've definitely watched a lot of games where, like, the one person who just like greedily greens early wins if the engine gets botched or something like that, and so it will still require some precise play from YoungTrad, but this should be a one position, I would think, if they play it well.
No.
Why are you? I mean, you draw first, and then once you've seen your cards, then decide whether to goat things.
What are you doing?
I don't understand why they're doing that now rather than later. Like, for example, I would much rather have used this Squire as a goat than an Ironmonger as a goat.
I also don't want to discard that Squire. I kind of want +5. Well, you found another one.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like the best or most reliable order for drawing well.
Yeah, probably not. I still feel like YoungTrad's deck is about like 2 turns from kicking off. As long as they stop masterminding Mastermind. As long as they start balancing masterminds and using their one horses each time. They've got at least a couple paddocks, right?
Yep.
Yeah, there's the other one. I think there
are 2. Now, how much junk is down there? They don't have the option to trigger the shuffle anyway. That doesn't matter.
Yeah, the real problem is the mastermind's being tied up right now. So, surely you play the Squire for buys.
Yeah, you're taking like some combination of masterminds and paddocks, I would think, here. Definitely not 3 masterminds. I could see any number from 3 paddocks to 2 masterminds and 1 paddock.
Yeah, I'm feeling maybe 1 mastermind and 2 paddocks.
I like that.
Oh, you may not need more than 2 masterminds, actually.
I think 3 paddocks is defensible on the grounds that these masterminds are both leaving play.
Yeah, like I think having 1 mastermind each turn should probably be enough to kick off reliably.
Oh no, it's too early for this. Stop that. Stop.
Oh,
your deck is so close.
This is actually a good example of something that I like sometimes think about when I'm playing, which is even let's suppose that YoungTrad has decided that scoring with Duke is a good long-term goal, which I'm not sure if it is here, but I guess
I think it is.
It's reasonable. Like it seems like if you look at YoungTrad versus Math, the question is what is YoungTrad? YoungTrad is ahead. What are they going to have to do? Like, what is their lose con? What could they do that could cause them to lose? And it seems like the answer is definitely going to be green too early and lose control of their deck. Like, YoungTrad's best shot to screw this up is going to be if they like have some duds. Like if they add those if they draw those duchies and then it stops them from.
I don't understand this death comment, but I agree with the first sentence of that wholeheartedly.
Yeah, like it seems like if I were YoungTrad, what I would be afraid of is losing deck control because that would be my main advantage there. Like, obviously, Math has points, YoungTrad has deck control. I don't want to lose the deck control because that would be my easiest way to lose the game. Like, what's the easiest way to lose the game? Don't do that. That's how I look at it anyways. I'm like, that's my lose con, so I won't do it.
Maybe their goal is to like infuriate Steph. I feel like Steph, whenever I see him like spectating, it's just one of the most staunch, just like never green, just keep building, the bigger engine wins advocates at all points.
Steph is definitely a very reserved player who likes to build for a really long time. Very like accurate play.
It's funny that YoungTrad makes this comment because it seems like they think, well, okay, if Steph were here, then I would try to do what he likes in order to, like, you know, impress him or whatever, rather than just I should do what Steph likes because Steph is a good player.
I mean, it could be like all publicity is good publicity thing. Like I want to do the thing that gets Steph to write some angry comments in my direction. I don't know.
Whatever gets the sarcastic reply from Steph.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. Well, I mean, if you want some angry replies from Jay Nels, all you got to do is buy some gold. So.
Yeah.
And even if Steph's not here, Steph is always watching.
Yeah, he could be spectating. He runs a site. Maybe he's got like a secret spectating room built in. Anyways.
Or maybe just one of the spectators here is actually Steph. It's not me. Is it you, J Nails? Are you actually stuck?
I cannot confirm or deny that.
Dang. Okay, so why are we undoing the are they gonna trash with the groom? I guess that seems like probably wrong, but
I think they want to get some stuff into the shuffle.
like silvers, no. Not really that. Oh, they're not gonna.
They're gonna stop here.
Okay, wait, I've returned to the truly important discussion, which is whether y'all can be singular. The Wikipedia article in y'all suggests that it can be amongst non-Southerners. It is, quote, a cardinal article of faith in the South that it is a singular, but has been observed as a singular, or is never singular, but can be observed as a singular usage amongst non-Southerners.
That seems.
So I guess the answer is it could be if they're not from the South.
That seems worse somehow. Yeah, I was afraid of this being two duchies. At least get a paddock here. I see what they were trying to do. They were trying to set up aqueduct. I get it. It's like
I don't want silvers.
honestly, I think FrYoungtrad is still going to win, despite greening too early. But like I said, it seems like greening too early is the best way to lose this game from a winning position. So that's why I do it.
Yeah,
Also,
No, don't mastermind a mastermind. You want that mastermind this turn, and then you want to...
Well, like, honestly, mastermind doesn't even give you more card plays. Because every third turn, you get 3 masterminds, whereas if you just played them normally, every turn you'd get 1. So it doesn't actually give you more card plays, I don't think. It just slows them down. It does take fewer actions, but, like, speed is really...
drawing their whole deck every turn. They have 8 cards left in that deck, which just shows how badly those duchies have slowed them down.
And the silvers, too.
It is doubly bad. It is both that the duchies themselves are stop cards, and that you're passing up on $5 actions like Paddock, which would drastically slow it up, or drastically speed it up, I mean.
Yeah, Paddock is so good now. Like, it's just a lab that's also worth 2 coins, and I know it's not actually just a lab. But the horses are arguably better here because you can speed them by gaining a bunch of horses and then triggering a shuffle, putting them on top, and then you can also mastermind the horses. So it's probably better than a lab plus 2 peddlers, which is like obviously.
FrYoungtrad is like a turn or 2. If they built like a turn or 2 more, then they've got a situation where they draw their deck with like 100% reliability for the rest of the game. And buying the duchies was just like the one thing that could potentially cost them. I agree they're still very much ahead, but they like their odds dropped. Like the odds of CrystalMath winning must have gone up like 100-fold from like 0.1% to 10%. Because now they're not reliably drawing when they were formerly in a position where they were like overdrawing their deck. I think you get this mindset sometimes, like my opponent has 26 points, I have 0, I've got to put points on the board because I'm way behind.
Do we think
and that's not really the mindset you have.
Do we think there's any way to win on this turn?
I don't think win, but you can certainly score a bunch.
I mean, how many buys can you get? I think it's 7. No, I don't think you can quite win.
That is not inconceivable to me. Let's see.
You
can do 3 duchies in 50 states. You could autopile grooms if you have enough draw. I could believe there's a win here. They've got a lot of overdraw.
Oh yeah, autopile grooms might be a thing.
Autopile grooms and do 3 duchies seems pretty doable. Let's see. So they've got. This works. This works. Empty grooms, buy 3 duchies. This is a win.
Yeah. So
you also do. You can't quite do. Yeah, you could do estates as well. Grooms and estates would work.
You have enough. You have enough gains for that. Oh yeah. You can use the last groom. The idea with the autopilot grooms, by the way, for the people listening, is that they have enough actions that they can just play groom, gain a groom, play a horse to draw back the horse and the groom, and then repeat this. It costs 1 action each cycle, but they have more than enough actions to do that.
Yep.
And then they would be able to buy 3 duchies at the end of that and have more points.
Yeah, or buy 5 estates and use the last room for an estate. But also, that's not enough points, is it?
That's not
No.
enough. Yeah, definitely state it better.
Yeah, I guess you can't do estates because you couldn't get a duchy at the end of that, I don't think. So yeah, it has to be grooms and duchies, I think.
So they're just buying more duchies. They also didn't seed their shuffle. They had an opportunity to trigger a shuffle that would have had almost nothing but horses in it and wouldn't have duchies in it.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is another important thing with cards like Paddock or Cavalry that gain you horses mid-turn. Is what often happens is you've got a discard pile that's just full to the brim with horses. And it is a situation where it is actually proactively incredibly important to trigger your shuffle. Because if, let's say you have a discard of like 10 horses in it, and you play a Pearl Diver, you draw 1 horse, now the top 9 cards of your deck are the other 9 horses, which is just about like the best way to guarantee that you draw. It's like having a bunch of alchemists, right? You always have horses top deck. Especially with Mastermind, because you'll be Masterminding whatever's on top, but you want to be a horse.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like Young Trad's still gonna win, I think.
Now, one thing to consider with Duchy and Duke, I think, and again, it's not super important because Young Trad seems to be very ahead. But if we're both going for Duchy and Duke, you want to like get all the duchies as fast as you can because the duchies will make all your dukes worth more. If you're going for Duchy Duke versus your opponent's provinces, that's not obvious. For example, here, like once you've got like 4 duchies, dukes are both worth more points in the short term, which might matter, and kind of more importantly, are lowering a less low pile. And so you avoid the risk of like, I don't know, your opponent masterminds a squire and gets a +5 to empty estates or something like that. That like causes some like freak loss for you.
Yeah.
Not sure they didn't have a squire, but like that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think Young Trad's Duchy Duke ordering here was pretty fine. They got like 4 duchies, I think, and then started dukes. But yeah, if they are contested, just slam the duchies.
Like CrystalMath cannot afford duchies really because like the way CrystalMath wins is only by like emptying provinces before your deck gets running. Which, if they start buying duchies to try to slow down your dukes, slows them down even more, and then they just lose in the long term. And now look at the point where FrYoungtrad got all antsy and decided to buy the duchies early. That was turn 14. So CrystalMath had just bought the 3rd province on turn 14. We're now turn 20, and they've bought 1 more province in the last 6 turns. So that idea of like my opponent's got like a 26-point lead, I'm imminently going to lose, I need to score immediately, is just, it's not true. If they have that points lead, it's because they don't have a deck. They've filled their deck with provinces instead of cards, and their deck's not going to keep up that 1 province per turn rate for very long. And so 3 duchies was not called for. You still had all the time in the world to keep building, and definitely could have run out the pile sooner if you built a little bit more rather than greening so early.
Young Trad, I think, just missed an opportunity to empty estates here. Also, by the way, way back when you were talking about the groom auto pile, it actually was possible to pile estates because you could have used Messenger to give out estates and then buy duchy. Which I just
might need to be province at that point. Does that still work?
Yeah, or province.
Yeah, but yeah, you're right. That would be enough.
Yeah, Young Trad also, so Young Trad missed an opportunity, I think, to groom estate here and then buy 5 more estates. But they also just have a commanding points lead at this point and can probably just hit the dukes at their leisure. What do you do here? I don't know what the duchy split is, but I'm not really sure that Math wants to be taking dukes at this point.
There's nothing Math can do to win here. The game is over.
I mean, Math should still be like playing for their best chance, which is probably just to get all the provinces. I guess that would require Youngtrad to do something pretty dumb. But I mean, I'm generally like in the don't resign camp, just because a lot of times there is some chance of either like a really freak shuffle or your opponent doing something really dumb. Like, it's possible. But yeah, I mean, math is pretty lost here for sure. Youngtrad finds a squire so they can get
3 more dukes, I mean.
two more dukes here.
Oh, they don't have enough money, do they?
Yeah. The 2 dukes are still gonna be pretty good.
So they got 7 of the duchies?
Yep. CrystalMath took the last duchy, but they got the other 7.
So is this half points yet? CrystalMath could score 8 points off of dukes and estates, plus 18 more points. That's 26. They could tie. They can still technically tie. Oh no, there's 7 points in the gold pile. They can win. They've had to get all the estates, all the dukes, all the provinces, and at least 1 gold before Youngtrad does anything.
Easy peasy.
Yeah, simple.
They can also messenger curses and then trash the curses.
That's a good point. Yeah, wow, we're really far from this game ending, aren't we? How many turns would Youngtrad have to pass at this point for CrystalMath to win?
I don't know, like
10.
I was gonna say like 7 or 8 maybe, but yeah, maybe 10. Yeah, I mean,
10 does not sound unreasonable, so yes.
now it's certainly over.
This is resign time.
I mean, it's been over for a while, but
We are still not technically at the half point place, are we?
really.
Let's see. So
That was-
CrystalMath score 12 from province, plus 6 more from estates, that's 18, plus 1 more from duke, that's 19, plus 7 from golds, that's 26, plus 5 more from messaging curses, which is 31. That's a win. Yeah. So it is still possible.
Technically, it's still. I mean, I guess if you want to get into the realm of like implausible scenarios, it's also possible for Youngtrad to like goat away all their victory points. Like,
I'm just imagining where like Youngtrad consistently passes their turn over and over indefinitely. If you get to play Youngtrad's deck, then yeah, it's trivial to win from any position.
here's the bottom line: if the game is in a state where the best use of the commentator's time is to talk about how many turns one person would have to pass the other one, it's time for that other person to resign.
As opposed to the state where we talk about the population of Antarctica.
Yeah, that's true.
Or
The probability of there being a Dominion player in Antarctica. Important stuff.
Yeah.
Well, that was during the break. But like, this is during the actual game. We're talking about things that are so useless because there's nothing more about the game to say. I mean, yeah, Youngtrad has a mastermind down. Like, they literally have the win as soon as they start their turn.
Mm-hmm.
Do they have enough stop cards that if they masterminded the paddock, they could still fail to draw 8? Like if CrystalMath got to order Youngtrad's deck right now, I think
No, they don't have to draw 8. They only have to draw 5, and they already have 5.
Oh, you're right, Duke. I didn't notice Duke.
It's the last Duke. Yeah.
You're totally right.
Oh, Matt just commits Sudoku.
All right. Wow, this is a long set. We're approaching 2.5 hours now.
Yeah.
Is that the match? I don't even know.
Oh, that was only 5, wasn't it?
And I think it was 5.
Yeah. I don't blame them for not remembering the lines for this.
final game. Can CrystalMath?
Oh my god.
I hate this kingdom. Reroll, please reroll.
It's like, wow.
God.
I haven't played with two of these cards in like a year, and they're both fairly purple.
I think I just want to do Engineer Gardens Rush, so as to not have to think about Swindler and such nonsense.
Yeah, I mean,
Actually,
maybe.
Cultist is really bad versus that. Like, Cultist empties the third pile for you. So I actually, beyond the just like the benefits to my mental health of not having to deal with Swindler and Cultist.
Well, Swindler
sounds pretty fun.
Swindler has to be garbage here. Like,
I don't know if it hits your gardens.
You can also hit your engineer. Or actually, do you get?
That's fine. You get another engineer.
That's fine. Right. Yeah, I think this is just Gardens Rush actually. I think as CrystalMath, I would open Lackey's Sculptor. Double guard, or not double guard. Double engineer is the other rival alternative, I would think.
Lackey's Margrave seems maybe not crazy.
Yeah, I mean, Lackey's Margrave sounds pretty defensible. Margrave's a good card. Lackey's is just like a great card to click on here. The game should be over by the time you run out of villagers. I mean, that's usually true of Lackey's anyway, that you click on it all. Another benefit to the Gardens thing is it scores you the Labyrinth point.
Yeah, you get like, the Gardens thing just looks pretty great here.
Yeah, I like the rush here.
Yeah, it looks like neither of them is going to go for it, though.
And instead they're both, I don't like Swindler here. I mean, the obvious problems with shelters aside, like, it just doesn't seem like, I mean, there's other, like, if it hits Cultist, it's, I don't know, it's not like that bad for them.
Yeah, it draws them 3 cards.
Early it kind of does. If it hits Cultist late, like, the draw probably helps them more than the Duchy hurts them.
Indeed.
I guess you can turn Lackeys into a state. But even that's, like, not that terrible.
Yeah, realistically, they've got the villagers from it already.
You have to look at this free hovel trashing.
And Trader is not bad, I guess, if your opponent's going for Cultist. Or Swindler, for that matter. Trader counters both of those pretty well.
You can also Trader Catacombs for 6 silver.
It's a lot of silver.
Wow.
Two shelters down.
Honestly, actually, with Cultist, I think I would maybe prefer to keep the Necropolis. I don't know. I guess the odds of drawing it dead are pretty high.
Maybe villagers.
So actually, no, I would want to keep the Necropolis then, because you can't draw it dead.
This is just reminding me how painfully arbitrary Swindler games are.
Silver?
I don't think Swindler is really doing that much here. I think it's more. This is just more gonna make me hate Cultist, but I already hate Cultist. I don't actually hate Swindler. I feel like Swindler has a large impact very infrequently, and this doesn't look like a board where Swindler would have a big impact.
If there were only one card I could ban, I would ban Swindler. If there were 2 cards I could ban, I would ban Swindler twice.
Really?
I hate the card. It's just, it makes games so painfully arbitrary. It's like, look up the what do you call it? The like skill factor of like
skill multiplier.
Yeah, that one, the one that makes it more likely for the worst player to win. And Swindler's just like one of the most egregious offenders. Like, look at this. Like, you could turn your opponent's coppers into curses or kill their key 5s, or you could trash their shelters for them. And just something like that. It's such a vast differential. And I could go play like Candyland or something if I wanted to figure out who won by rolling. Yeah, I detest Swindler with a passion. Worst card in the game by a lot.
Yeah, it is an an objectively objectionable card.
Indeed. I've got Cultist Band as well, but like it's nowhere close. I think in terms of like my disgust for it. Cultist can have.
I don't know. I don't know what. Like, I have very rarely seen Swindler do the things you're describing. So you're right that the skill multiplies. I've had this conversation with people before. I'm like, I feel like based on my personal experience, Swindler very rarely has a big impact the way you're describing. Like, yeah, you can turn fives into duchies, but that is about the
you buy Sentry, I buy Swindler, and I turn your Sentry into a duchy. That sort of thing.
Yeah, like how often does that happen? Like,
it seems pretty clear that it happens a lot because, like, if you look at the stats in the aggregate, Swindler to win a lot more than any other card.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like Cultist, at least in terms of, I ban cards really mostly for enjoyability. So maybe that's why I don't have much of a problem with Swindlers, because usually this garbage doesn't happen. Whereas Cultist, it makes the game garbage like 80% or more of the time. So I mean, I hate Cultist a lot more than I hate Swindler. There are a lot of cards I dislike more than I dislike Swindler. I don't actually dislike Swindler, but like, I just don't like Cultist because it usually just takes over the game. And you're right that actually it probably doesn't take over this game because you can do the Guardian's Rush instead. But seems like they're playing with the mindset that when Cultist is on the board, you just click on Cultist, which is honestly not a terrible mindset to play Cultist with, but especially at like a lower level, like you can usually just click on Cultist.
Yeah, to answer Shanahan's question, I think what you're saying is kind of right. It's like they have seen Cultist, and in general, in a large majority of the kingdoms where Cultist is around, a good strategy is just get Cultist as quickly as possible and play it. I also dislike Cultist a lot. I'm not going to disagree on that. I do have Cultist Band. And it might just be that their tunnel vision on Cultist has caused them to overlook Engineer Gardens, which just happens to have a particularly nice, countering sort of effect to Cultist. Namely that if you empty the Ruins pile, the Engineer Gardens just gets a lot faster.
Also, it is true that Workshop Gardens is one of the first Dominion combos, and it's also true that as soon as you learn about like any other ones, you realize how bad Workshop Gardens is. But it may just be that they don't realize that the rush is good here, and it's not just the presence of Engineering Gardens, I think, that makes it good. Like, it's the presence of all the other stuff, like Labyrinth, and the fact that Cultist is the main counter and actually adds cards to your deck, and there's Lackeys, which are good in the short term, so you want to play a rush strat. Like, I think it's not just the existence of Engineering Gardens.
Yeah, it is worth pointing out that we are 13 turns in, and at only 2 points in this game has anyone gained 2 cards in a turn. So, like, had either of them played the Engineer Gardens thing, they would have decisively won the Labyrinth point split. Trader Silver is Crystal Meth, I assume, is Shanahan's suggestion. I don't know what I would do as Crystal Meth. I think trading silver and buying here look at the points. So Crystal Math is up a bunch of points right now with 2 piles empty. I think you might just want to throw an engineer in your deck so you can start to pile out lackeys. Buying lackeys directly is also fine.
I mean, Ruin Library there seems like a bad villager use.
I mean, the alternative is just don't have a turn.
It's not totally up. Like,
well,
I'm not sure.
Yeah, but they also have a lot of draw cards. Here you just buy Providence. Just buy Providence. Don't use your last villager.
Yeah, I would agree with that, I think. Alright, looks like we're going to see CrystalMath win one. Just looks pretty locked up.
You just keep
Cultist and Silvers.
4 Swindlers is way too many to have amongst the 2 of them. for a kingdom that has no sustainable villages.
It's 4 too many. I think Swindler is just really bad here. And
Yeah,
I'm this is a person who does not have a bias against Swindler. Like, shelters make it worse. The cultist makes it worse.
Yeah, beyond the sort of moral reasons not to play with Swindler, it's also just strategic here.
Yeah. Okay, so looks like Math has like what 29 cards in their deck. So Gardens here is probably better than Duchy.
I would think so, yeah.
The
other reason,
like,
well,
I guess maybe the point of the Margrave is to try and empty lackeys. I guess that's reasonable.
Wow, Cultist is a card.
You're pretty far from triggering a shuffle as CrystalMath, so there's a decent chance you never play the Margrave over again.
Yeah.
Don't think I like that villager usage for 1 point.
I mean, I would have at least trashed silver for 2 points, probably.
That's true.
And more silvers in my deck. I mean, yeah, Math's probably still ahead.
It's less bad, I think, for CrystalMath to be spinning villages. I'm not particularly opposed to that because they can freely buy lackeys and just further threaten the 3 pile. Whereas FrYoungtrad cannot afford to touch lackeys at all right now, I don't think. And they are the ones who have to be more a little bit
Why Trader? What is Trader doing for us here?
I'm thoroughly perplexed at that Trader buy.
Maybe they're like really afraid of Swindler giving them curses or something. I have no idea. Trying to either score or run piles out. Trader lackeys by lackeys.
Deciding to pivot into like a Trader Gardens thing, turn 20.
Probably by lackeys, yeah. So having those villagers is very useful.
Lowering the pile is also really useful.
Yeah, that too.
What do you give them? Cat?
What's your Margrave? They have no village. Give them another Margrave.
I think Catacombs. Margrave is not unreasonable though.
Yeah, maybe Catacombs.
Why are you going to no?
How to lose a game in 8 steps.
I don't want them to be able to like trash the Catacombs strategically or whatever.
Yeah, Margrave is quite possibly just the best thing to give back to them.
Why are they giving each other duchies? Points matter now.
No, you take the points. No, you take points. Yeah. Oh, this is the win. Not necessary, but okay. Alright, there we go. Alright, CrystalMath does end up ending on a win. I think League is normally winner take all, right? So in fact, this ends up being 6-0 in CrystalMath's favor. If they're playing double or nothing. Pretty sure.
That was a long set.
Indeed.
Well, it was fun commentating with you guys. Thanks for helping out.
Yep.
And I'll see you next time. Thanks for listening, everyone.